The story begins with a scene set in the grand palace of the heavenly demon cult. An elderly man speaks, apologizing for the ineffectiveness of the medicine. He admits he had high hopes for it due to its rarity. The cult's heir, however, reassures him, explaining that energy deviation isn't an issue easily resolved. He takes the blame upon himself, citing his own inadequacies as a disciple. His lower core had been damaged since birth, and coupled with a body incapable of containing internal energy, it created an insurmountable challenge. He poured all of his efforts into mystic arts and rose to become the cult heir of the heavenly demon cult. It was all a way for him to repay the debt to his master, but alas, he has not achieved it. Yet he says that the price medicine of Hab was useless. He wonders where he could find something better. We then hear a different man telling the cult heir. It's been a while, making him stop in his tracks. He asks if he's been well while he who. We learn as the vice cult leader was absent. The heir says that it's been a long time, and we learn that the vice cult leader is named Chan Hein. The heir says that his tour around their land must have taken him quite a while, Hygiene says, as the cult leader and cult heir are both unable to carry out their current duties. It is his obligation to get things done for the prosperity of the cult. The heir says that he sees and he's really grateful for his efforts, but he says it in a very cold tone. Back in his room, the heir says there's no way that snake just went on a trip to see how the people are doing. He sets his cup down and says he needs to stop Hygiene before he does anything stupid, but then he feels a sharp pain in his chest. He says that he did not expect this to think he'd aim for him the moment he's in his own chamber. It makes sense now why this drink was so damn good, as he starts to crush the cup. He asks the people in the rafters above if they would like a drink as well, saying he feels bad for drinking it all on his own. One of them yell attack, and they start to leap down from the ceiling. The heir says even if they did bring him this prized liquor, they're making a grave mistake for finding him in his own chambers. We see 4 of them plunge their fists straight through his chest, but only for them to have been tricked by one of his illusion arts. The heir is now across the room, saying if they wanted to kill him in his own area, they should have prepared much more. As we see a purple aura from his eyes, they quickly redirect towards him, and he says that he just warned them while sticking his hand out as he clenches his fist. He says they are not enough chain. Spike chains begin to fly around the room, impaling his ocelot, killing them on the spot. We see more people appear behind, and he says that it seems they are appearing now that the stage has been set. He says that as his nephew, he's quite disappointed in this, as it's none other than Hygiene, and the other elders who look startled. Hygiene says that the crane's red beak is a poison said to melt an entire ox with a single pinch, and he wonders how the heir is still laughing after drinking a cup of it, calling him a monster with all the corpses around. The heir says if his body was in better condition, he would have been sure to leave a hole in his head, and that this is quite unfortunate. Heen says that he too shares disappointment, that he couldn't accomplish his dreams. He says there's no way he'll just stand by and let this orphan who can't even learn martial arts be his next leader. The superiors have even given him permission to do this. As he nods to a man behind him, they all immediately start to circle the heir. He says that his elders are quite easy to scare and asks if they really plan on ganging up on him after making him drink poison. Hygiene tells him to keep trying to act tough, saying if he had just fulfilled his role as the cult heir, this wouldn't have happened, but the heir tells him to cut the why, asking who's behind this. Hygiene asks what he's talking about and looks shocked, saying that this was a decision that he and the elders made. The heir says that he knows they lack the balls to do this, and then starts naming out names about who it could be, only for him to gain a reaction. He says that it's probably an order from outside his divine cult, and that the other elders and Hygiene have sold the cult off to kill him, asking if his master ended up the way he is now because of his actions as well. Hygiene begins to imbue his hand with frost, asking him how dare he accuse him of doing something to his own master. He starts to dash directly towards the heir, who says that after seeing his response it seems that he's right, as he gets hit by the attack. The heir says that this is the cost of his master trusting someone he always believed in, and that they finally got stabbed in the back. Hane's attack sends Y flying to the other side of the room. As he grabs him by the throat, he says no matter how much he dislikes him, they still train under the same master, and he is still the acting leader of the cult, so he will end his life with his own hands. The heir laughs, asking if he's already planned all of this, saying that he should just drop the facade and that his lack of wits is exactly why he's a puppet in the first place. We finally learned the main character's name, which is Yan Wui, and he says that the way he's acting must mean he doesn't want to die an easy death. Wu spits up a lot of blood, and Een tells not to worry. saying he will correct the mistakes and ensure the cult prospers. Wu lets out a little snicker and immediately bursts into full-blown laughter, which sends chills down the spines of all of the elders as his aura starts to be released even more. He says they've endured him for so long, yet they still don't know if they wanted to kill him. They should have remembered one small detail. Hygiene says that now that his time to die has come, it seems like he won't stop running his mouth. But Wu reaches into his robe and pulls something out which surprises Hygiene as he recognizes it as the demon dragon sword. Hygiene says that he dare cause trouble even in his final moments and reaches for the sword, asking if he really thought he'd let him pull off one of his tricks. The tip of the handle starts to glow purple as it releases aura that sends Hane flying backwards. Hane asks if he's really gathered this much mystic power already. Wu says that he has put all of the mystic power he has into the sword, which contains the will of the first heavenly demon, and while he was gathering all the energy he needed to defend against his laughable attacks, this is what he has been aiming for. The other elders start to panic, saying they need to quickly utilize their internal energy and block the attack as the sword starts to flow into the air. Wu tells them that it's too late as they are destined to die here. The sword itself begins to use an ability called the Soul Combusting Hell Flame Art. It immediately starts to exude a pressure so heavy that it seems as if the light in the room itself has been sapped. Some of the elders are sent flying backwards almost as if they disintegrated, and Hygiene watches as it's his turn and he screams out Wu's name outside of the palace. It's silent only immediately for it to appear as if space-time itself was warping, and a giant explosion follows, destroying the entirety of the palace, leaving only the ground it stood on. We see Wu sitting where the palace once stood, saying no matter how pitiful his life might have been, he didn't expect he'd die like this, and that the snow flowing around him is making him remnants of when he was younger. We see some kids kicking the hell out of him, and they start to make fun of him because he can see ghosts. One of them says that if he tells him once more that he's carrying an evil spirit, he'll make sure he has a terrible time. They even start to make fun of how his lower core is broken, and they say that if they were him, they would have offed themselves a long time ago. Wu looks at a rock on the ground and he reaches for it, picking it up, saying that he simply said what he saw, but all he got was hatred. He refused to just sit down and take all that the world was trying to give him. He leaps off the ground, dashing at the man who just beat him up, and we see blood flying. Wu says they didn't really have the temper to stay put. We only hear them yelling. And Wu says that they don't know when to give up, just like the spirits we see them. Floating in front of him, and he asks for them to piss off. We then hear somebody tell Wu that he has special eyes, and he gets afraid, wondering how long this dude's been here since he couldn't even feel his presence, judging based on his expensive-looking clothes and an even more expensive-looking sword. This place is far from the forest path as well, so he must have come for him specifically. Wu starts to laugh, but in a sad tone, saying he must be interested in his cursed eyes and he can take them if he wants, as he's used to a life where seeing hatred and disrespect is so natural. The person asks if they can really just have them, and Wu says that based on their appearance, they look like a master of martial arts. So what would resisting even accomplish? He says he doesn't know if these eyes can act as a medicine for their powers or not, but they can pull them out, eat them, or do whatever they need to. The person quickly puts their coat around Wu, saying those eyes are no curse. Rather, they are a blessing. Some people like him are born with a blessed upper energy core, or with a special streak in their soul, and those children always end up doing great things. Wu says the words sounded so sweet he would have definitely just thought they were lies. The person continues saying that he has the potential to become more special than anyone else in the world. But Wu was already falling for it, because that was the first time he ever felt warmth in his entire life. The person asked if he would follow him, and Wu said yes. And this is how he met his master, the heavenly demon. When the heavenly demon asked if he had a name, Wu says no. The heavenly demon says that to commemorate the moment he met him, he would like to give him the name Wu, which gave him a new reason to live. We see Wu sitting there saying he did whatever he could to help his master. But because of his damn body, his master fell into a state of energy, deviation, and accepting death. Here would be too pitiful, even though his body is about to keel over. No matter what he does, his body is done for. So there is only one way out of this. He slams his hands into the ground as a golden energy starts to emit from it. He says that he is using the forbidden art of Zor as ISM, called the primordial divine wheel of reincarnation, which will allow him to overcome death by transferring his soul to another body. Even if it does succeed, he is destined to live a short life due to the body's rejection of the soul. He is using the remaining mystic energy from the fragments of the demon dragon sword to activate this art, and now he will just leave it up to the heavens. He looks over at his master's palace and begs that he hold on as the yellow aura starts to bloom into a lotus flower. It opens up, shooting a beam to the sky, and Wei says once more he hopes his master stays safe until he returns. His vision goes completely black until he hears some woman yapping at him. She says that is the son of a concubine. He should continue to keep low. He says his whole body is numb and tingling, and waking up to the sound of screeching is just the worst. He then jolts awake, asking if the wheel of reincarnation really succeeded, and we hear the woman call him Tang Mooney, asking if he's listening, telling him to get up off the damn floor. Wei stands up, saying it's ironic that he still has the same first name as his last body. The woman, on the other hand, says that she's been emphasizing this since earlier. She raises her beating stick into the air, asking how dare he not respond to her. But he stops her mid-swing, saying that her breath reeks, asking if she could face away when talking to him, and even calls her an old hag. She looks annoyed and asks how dare he refuse her teachings and even insult her, and then she slams the door, telling him not to even dream of exiting until he understands his mistakes. Wu sits on the bed, sighing out of relief, saying finally he can have some peace and quiet according to the remaining memories of this body. That woman is this child's stepmother, and that the primordial wheel of reincarnation only works on bodies that have just died or are about to die, even if this child was not her real son. He can't believe that she beat him to death. He thought his old life was pitiful, but the Wui in this body might match it. He says that his body is barely trained and is actually in pretty bad health, but this body has something that his last one lacked. He reveals that it has a lower energy core. He says if he can train his lower core to learn martial arts, and on top of the mystic arts, he learned using his upper core, and if he can use the power of his eyes to control the dead, he'll turn it into something that the world has never seen or is ready for. And it's not an if, rather it's a necessity. Only then will he be able to protect his master and show the bastards who backstabbed him and messed with his cult that they picked the wrong damn fight. Wei starts to explain that the Sichuan Tang clan is one of Mam's 6 great clans and the ruler of Sichuan to their west. There is Tibet, where the Patala Palace is, and Gangai, where the Klin sect is to their south. There are the Heavenly Dragon Temple, the Shenkong sect, and the 5 poison sects to their north is the front line of the Central Plains that opposes the Heavenly Demon cult. There stands the group that leads the Tang clan, and the vanguard called the Tempest Squad. The leader of the Tempest Squad, who is also known as the Tempest Swordsman, is Tang Hosen with the Tempest Squad. He founded a branch of the Tang clan called the 9 Dragons Division. The Tang Patriarch, the Dark Supreme Tang Moon Huk, had usted the division to Tang Hosan, whom he had deep faith in. Hosan had 3 heirs. 2 were children. He had with Naman Yang, his legal wife. They were his first child, Tang Jin, and his third child, Tang Chang. Comparatively, his second child was born as a result of sleeping with a servant, a mistake he made while drunk, and that is who he is incarnated as. While he may be an illegitimate child, he is still the son of the branch family patriarch, which means he is an heir candidate. We hear a servant barking at him, saying that he needs to go beg for forgiveness, as the matriarch said not to bring in any food to the White Pavilion, and that it looks like they will all be starving too. We sigh, saying he can't believe even a servant is looking down on him, so he smacks the dude across the face, sending him flying across the room. The dude asks what the hell he thinks he's doing since he was being so kind by giving him advice. He says if he continues acting this way, he can't help but fight him back. But when he looks up, he sees Wei glaring down at him, and Wei smacks him again, making the dude just start to say that if he keeps hitting him, he'll get into trouble. Wei doesn't care, and repeats this over and over until the dude is in tears, saying that he's sorry after a bit of slapping the hell out of him. Wei tells Hang Sam that he trusts that he will do the right thing since he's his mother's hometown friend. Hopefully he understands how he feels. Hang Sam says, of course he does, and he will never forget the kindness he and the second madam have shown him, and he'll work even harder to serve them both. Wu then starts smiling, saying that surely he'll go get what he wants now, and Hyang Sam starts to cry, saying he'll go prepared immediately, and he bows and heads out the door instantly. Wu sighs, saying he can't believe his hand is stinging just from hitting him a few times, and he wonders just how weak the original Wei was saying. Not only is the body weak, but he also has no allies with him clan, and it's partly due to the matriarch bullying him. It's difficult to move around within the Tang clan at this rate. All he can do is accumulate inner energy, then show what he is capable of. Although the problem is the Tang clan energy that's in this body, since his master's heavenly demon 9 slashes is a demonic art, he can't use it with the cultivation technique of an orthodox faction. However, there must be many cultists within the heavenly demon divine cult who came from the Tang clan and have been around for 1,000 years. This will put a lot of stress on his upper meridian, since his body has not been trained. So taking the memories of putting it into the upper meridian, that was innately big, he'll copy it from reality into the imaginary space and manifest it there. As he opens his eyes, he says that this space that he is witnessing is purely from his own manifestation, which is part of the heavenly demon divine cult called the Millennia-Old Secret Archive. Fortunately, it seems that using the divine will of reincarnation didn't cause him to lose much of his memories in his current situation. The most suitable cultivation method for him would be the Venom Dragon cultivation technique after the martial group of the Tang clan that specializes in poison was chased out of the clan. They joined the cult. This is the cultivation technique that was made to allow them to learn the poison arts of the demonic cult, instead of using demonic energy. They used poison energy and the cultivation techniques of the Tang clan as the base to practice the martial arts of the cult. While the Tang clan fights against the cult, there are groups within the Orthodox faction that use poison in a unique manner. So if he uses the demonic arts via the Venom Dragon technique, then no one would suspect him of a single thing. The issue would be that he needs to go through excruciating pain in order to embrace that poisonous energy to replenish the poison. He also needs to consume poison that is of a higher level. However, now that he has used his upper meridian, his cursed eyes have finally been opened. We see him smiling and asking somebody across the room how long they plan on staring at him for. He says, while he was known as handsome in his previous life, he will still get a little embarrassed if they stare too long, as we see he is talking to Heejin and the other elders. Heen barks at him, saying everybody always said he was crazy. But still, he dares subject him, the vice leader of the cult, into such a state. All the other elders also say that he needs to release the chains and he won't be able to handle their wrath. Wai says seeing all of them react like that makes him extremely happy. They ask if he has such a shitty personality that it's stuck even with death. Wai grabs their chains, saying if there were plenty to kill him, they should have prepared themselves for the consequences. As he pulls Hygiene to the floor, he says they already knew what ability he had, as when he looks up at Wui, he sees an ominous demon behind him. Hien asks if this is really the power of. The Phantom King Wu says if he remains in this state, he won't be able to even reincarnate, and surely they will start to get impatient. Hygiene hits the ground, saying what he wants is probably information if he wants all the information he has. Wu cuts him off, saying he doesn't need it. Hygiene is surprised, and Wu says he has many people who will give him that information. He puts his hand directly over Hen's head, and everything blinks out for Hygiene as he starts to get sucked up into the sky. He screams only for him to turn into an orb in W's hand, as he says it's called a Wraith Spar. It is filled with extreme resentment of the dead and is exponentially more vicious than the most extreme venom. And now it will become his nutrition. As we still hear Hygiene yelling from inside of the orb, Wu eats it in front of all the elders. Surprising them, he starts to feel excruciating pain in his body, causing everything to tense up, and they say there's no way he's still standing after eating that. One of the other dudes asks the rest if they don't remember that they just gave him the red beak poison, and he still shrugged that. Off-Wai says that now that Hygiene has become nutrition for his Venom Dragon technique, it's time for the rest of them to make a choice, asking if they will tell him obediently, or will they get devoured. He turns them all into orbs and starts swirling them around in his hands, asking if they are really just following the orders of an organization known as the Association. Even though they are elders of the heavenly demonic divine cult, they plead to him, saying that they're not lying. And Wai says that it's an organization that doesn't even have a name, but the problem lies with its members. One of the elders says they refuse to reveal anything about themselves, and they hope that Wu believes them. Wu says that the divine cult of the heavenly demon was an evil cult that believed their lord to be the god incarnate. These elders who revered the heavenly demon as their god came to eliminate him, the junior heavenly demon, since he was ruining their god's reputation. At the very least, they feared the members of the society more than they feared their master, the god they worshipped. Wu says he thought they had simply fallen for the schemes of the orthodox or unorthodox factions. Then he says the word divergence. There were humans who ascended while attempting to climb the tower, standing above the skies. They were absolutes, seen as immortals, who could be considered natural disasters in their own right. The real masterminds far exceeded his expectations. He downs all of the orbs, saying there's no time to sit back and slowly adapt the poison to his body, and he needs to speed this up immediately. It then jumps to 2 whole months later in the Grand Matriarch's room. She asks if they're certain that they haven't been serving food to that filthy boy. Hong Sam asks how he could ever go against her orders, and she asks how he's still fine. Then, as she thought he would give up in 3 days and gruel at her feet for mercy, there was even a rumor going around the estate that she killed him and replaced him with a double. The clan head is even going to visit soon. So how can she ever face him if he hears of this false rumor? She sigh, asking Hyang Sam if he brought the documents wound we asked for. He says there were reports regarding the current state of the martial realm, especially in respects to the outer regions. She says that he's never been interested in those before, wondering how he could change so much in a mere 2 months. Then wonders if maybe he found a new supporter despite being a filthy bastard. He still has the branch family head's blood if he impresses the clan head. When he comes to visit, the boy's position within the clan will solidify. It wouldn't surprise her if a dirty little pest tried to manipulate him to their advantage. She slams her table, saying only, "You." Chang can catch the clan head's eye, asking how dare they try to use that filthy bastard someone. Then knocks on the door, saying that Yu Chang has arrived, and she asks if he already finished his seclusion training. Hyang Sam says that he's going to take his leave now, and she tells him to get out of her sight and report immediately. If that bastard tries to do something again, Yu Chong then enters, asking his mother if she's been well, and she says that she has, telling him to take a seat, asking if he achieved his goal. He says that he may still improve, but he successfully obtained Shadow Key. She says well done, and she knew he could do it. Yu Chong says that he heard stories about the bastard on his way here, asking if he really is yet to reflect and beg for mercy after his transgression against her. She sighs, saying indeed, and just thinking about it makes her head hurt, asking what he is up to. He says based on the circumstances he believes someone is supporting him from the shadows. His mother asks if he really believes so as well, and Yu Chong says that there is no way someone with minimal internal energy can survive with no food or water for 2 months, and that he believes someone is sneaking in some elixir for him to consume every night. His mother says that's also her conclusion, but she has no clue which imbecile is trying to use that bastard. Yu Chong says that is why he will recommend that Wu Ai participates in the festival when the head arrives, because if we gets a big opportunity, then his backer will have no choice but to help him out immensely. His mother says that's a good idea, and she's sure they'll try to feed him more elixir to improve his abilities in the meantime, and then the backer will reveal themselves to take the credit for changing the boy. Yu Chong says exactly, and once they know the identity, they can take them down. She wonders what will happen if Wu Yi makes a mistake, saying the clan head will disapprove of the branch family for not keeping him in line. Yu Chong says that no matter how much the backer helps him, there is no way Wu Yi can achieve much, and if he makes a mistake or causes an accident, he will step in and prevent it as his brother. Back to Wu Yi's room, we see a purple aura leaving his room as they continue, saying that no matter how much help Wu will receive, there is no way a boy who's barely learned the common Tang Clan key cultivation technique can reach a high enough state to accomplish anything within such a short time. Oh boy, are they in for a rude awakening, and then jumps back to Wu Ai talking to Hyang Sam as Hyang Sam says that he has heard that the cult has been in a civil war for the past 6 years. W explains that 2 months ago he had asked Hong Sam to bring him the recent happenings in the martial realm. He anticipated that some time would have passed when he used the wheel of reincarnation, but this went beyond his expectations. After hearing that it was 6 years, he started to feel a bit of despair. Hyang Sam says that the heavenly demon of the time went missing. Wu Ai asks what he means by missing, and Hyang Sam asks if that's a problem or something, saying that it was said to be a wicked scheme planned by the cult for a long time, and they were all afraid of when and where the heavenly demon would appear. So now Wu Yi has no idea if his master is alive or not. Even though there's not much, he does have the slightest amount of hope. He wants nothing more than to run all the way to the Tan Shan Mountains right now. But he is lacking in strength, information, and money. Especially information, as we see him training his martial arts. He says those traders will be using all sorts of methods to look for their master as well, and if they haven't been able to find him yet, he needs information that is at least as good as their. It also happens that the Nine Dragons division will be visited by the Tang Clan's Dark Sovereign Son, who we talked about before. He is the head of the Sichuan Tang Clan, and one of the 10 Grand Masters under heaven, the Dark Sovereign Tang Munok. There's a rumor that the Dark Sovereign will form a new special martial unit, and if he can join the unit and utilize the information network of the Tang Clan, His chances of finding his master will definitely increase. A little spider waddles up into frame and says that it seems he's about to achieve a breakthrough with the 12 fierce tiger steps. The 12 fierce tiger steps are one of the best basic techniques passed down among vagabond. It allows the practitioner to use their entire body as a weapon. Y says this is the result he obtained after strengthening his body through extreme muscle training, and while also cleaning his pressure points and meridians by practicing the venom dragon art and eating the ghost orbs. Wu asks if he's going to have to eat Begu pills again, and the little spider says that it can't be helped as security is too tight. We see it's actually one of the elders possessing the spider. Wu warns him that he'll turn him into an orb if he doesn't behave. The elder begs him, saying that he's done his best. W says okay and asks if he's learned anything new, like where the Dark Sovereign is now. Spidey says that he doesn't know where exactly, but that Yang has returned after finishing his seclusion training. Wu says it makes sense. He'd return since the Dark Sovereign will be visiting soon, asking if that's all the information. Spidey then says that he saw him scheming with his mother against him. We asks him what Yuch Chong and Sunny Young have planned, telling him to spill the beans after being explained. Wu says the recap, they just want to screw him over when the Dark Sovereign visits, and they think that someone is supporting him from the shadows. He says they're literally just writing the story by themselves. And more importantly, a recommendation for the special unit is great. He scoffs, saying that he wondered what they were going to do, but now they're just laying it all out for him. Though he doesn't like their intentions to humiliate him. Hyang Sam then knocks on the door, and W tells him to enter. He enters with some medicine, and Wooey asks what it is, only for Hyang Sam to tell him that it's something that the matriarch is giving to him. He says that he thought she told him not to give any food, and Hyang Sam says that she said he must have reflected enough and has given him this to recover his energy since he has suffered all this time. Wai Sai saying this is such an obvious ploy, telling him to leave it on the side. Hyang Sam insists that he needs to watch him drink it, and Wu Sai but immediately chugs it, saying that if what he heard before is true, then this must be infused with madness poison, while not likely to work against him as he has learned the venom while he's drinking it. He starts noting all the stuff in it, saying that it has White Mountain herb soul-burning resin and only a small quantity of madness poison, and she's even put 5 essence powder into it. Even though it's a precious thing, if you only drink it once or twice, its effect would be closer to energy recovery and improving inner energy, but if you drink it often, it becomes a poison for the mind gate. Wu says that was well within his expectations, but it also has toxic sinear. Spidey starts to get pissed, asking if she's gone mad that she's fed him, that Wee tells him to shut up as it's okay and he needs to find out who her sorcerer is. Spidey says all right and immediately jumps out the window, and Wee sets the bowl back down for Hyang. Sam wondering if her plan was to drive him mad and then put a spell on him to turn him into a puppet. He's curious about how competent the sorcerer she employed is. He tells Hang Sam that he's drank it all, asking why he's still here. Hyang Sam says that the martial arts instructor that she sent for him is waiting outside as well. W asks what he means by martial arts instructor, and as soon as he heads out, he's introduced to his martial arts instructor named Tang Gon Gon, says that he'll only be here for a short bit, but he'll be in his care. We says this is the fierce Gale Warrior, and while the Wild Wind Squad was active, he was one of the top members of the Elite Squad, and a martial master who ranked within the top 5 of the 9 Dragons branch family, but now he's just an old man who's been living like a hobo, because he doesn't want to take another job. Gon says that he's been told to look after him for just 4 days before the clan head arrives. We says he must have only accepted him because he didn't want to help out with the event. And that Song's intentions are obvious by making a master like Gon's instructor. She can tell others that she has taken care of her son. Then she'll use sorcery to make him humiliate himself in front of the clan head. Wu then asks Gon what he's going to teach him, and he says that there is a martial art that Sanong has selected Ed for him specifically. Wu asks what it is, and Gon says he's not going to show it twice, so pay attention immediately. Gon starts dashing around the entire training area, leaving something akin to after images. Wu says it's a step technique that lets him move like a shadow, and he looks around following his movements, and Gon tells him that it's called shadow. Step Wu asks if this is the same one that Yu Chong uses a lot, and Gon says yes, as it's the foundation to a shadow key. Wee Sai saying that she's planning on making him look bad compared to her son. Gon tells him that Shadow Step emphasizes stealthy movement and is effective when combined with assassination weapons and poison arts, and since he has made imprints on the ground, Wu only needs to follow them. Wu says he expects no less of the fierce scale warrior, and Gon says that, since he's taught in the shadow step, he should do his best to copy it. And if he doesn't get it, he should go ask the righteous wind. Hall Chief, instead of him, Wu tells him that he's mastered it. And God asks what he means, and Wu repeats himself, saying he's already mastered the technique. Gon scratches his head, saying he may not know this because he hasn't learned martial arts before. But shadow step is a pretty difficult stepping technique. Even the members of the Wild Wind Squad took around 10 days for each form. Even geniuses like himself took 5 days. So it'll take at least 3 months for someone like Wu to understand the basics. Wu cringes at him calling himself a genius, and he says that he guesses it's probably like that in his mind. Don says that if he understands, then to continue practicing diligently, but Wu says it again, that he's already mastered it. Gown starts to get annoyed, saying that it's not something he can master by looking at it once, and Wu asks if he wants to make a bet, 30 silver coins, to see if he's mastered shadow step or not. Of course, the homeless guy immediately jumps at the money, and Wu says he hears that the monthly wage of the righteous wind hall is around 10 silver coins. And it's probably only a fun bet when it's worth around 3 months of his salary. Gon clears his throat, saying that shadow step is a valuable martial art of the Tang clan that holds its soul, and betting on learning it is absurd. Wu laughs a little bit and holds it back, asking him if he's a coward. Gon gets annoyed, but Wu walks away, saying he must be, and that the fierce Gale warrior said it took him 5 days for him to learn it, and he's a genius. But for a man to back down like this, it's quite pathetic. Gon tells him to wait, saying that he's remarkably good at provoking people and he'll accept the money as payment for him. Disrespecting martial arts, Wu says that since he's accepted it, it means he can't go back on his words. Gon then tells him to prove it, and Wu immediately dashes behind him before he can even react, and Gon asks how. But Wu smiles, asking him what he was planning on drinking today as he's holding his pouch, saying that it's pretty heavy. Gon starts to sweat nervously, saying that this is impossible. Gon tells Wu this is cheating, asking how he learned the shadow step. Wu says he learned it just now, asking if Gon thinks he had a chance to learn martial arts ahead of time. Gon says that's true, but asks how. Wu learned it just from seeing it. Once Wu says he didn't realize Gon was the petty type who doesn't know how to admit defeat, asking if he wants to try it again. Gan says he's not going to try it again. Wu says he can just try a different martial art as it's too boring doing it with just one. Then Wu starts to mock him again, asking if he's at such a big disadvantage because he's actually a genius. Wu says, given how puny the stakes are, Gon's self-confidence must be equally as small. Gon tells him to wait, as he's going to the bank right now to get money. Wu is laughing internally, saying this is too free as Gon's walking away. He says he knows tons of more secret techniques, far more difficult than the shadow step, and he would love to see. We try to keep up. Wu says that this must be confusing for Gon. Not only did someone who never practiced martial arts manage to master it after seeing it once, but now his money bag is also gone as well. Wu says that he may not have mastered any martial arts before, but the people he fought against as the Junior Lord were the elite of the elite among the martial arts world, and their names were very well known. Remembering the forms of the basics is also very simple for him. Low-key. Don't know if it said this ghost's name, but just going to call him Goatee. He asks him how he did just now, and if it was a good job. Wu says yes. No matter how great he is, the difference in their levels made it impossible for him to steal Gon's bag by himself. But luckily Goatee just needed to flick it a little bit, which gave Wu the chance to snatch it. Now it's time for him to completely absorb all of Gon's martial arts and all of his money. 4 hours later, we see Wu performing a whole myriad of techniques, such as the soul tracking, soaring butterfly, the wild wind body technique, and even the wild wind 12 rotation. Gon's just watching as his life finances are going down the drain. And the ghosts say he may be a heretic, but they pity him, as he had the misfortune of getting caught up with the Junior Lord. They say they're reminded of how they came to be ghosts. Gon drops to the ground, and Wu asks if he is anymore. Gon says he can't borrow any money from the bank. Wu says that's too bad and suggests they make one more bet. Gon starts crying, saying he's already completely broke, and Wu tells him to hear him out. They should go for one more round, and he'll put all of the money on the line. Gon starts to shake, asking if Wu is trying to sell him off as a slave. Wu says no, but he still knows one important martial art that he won't be able to follow easily. The wild wind dance. It strikes a nerve in Gon, and Wu wonders what's wrong as Gon starts to release his aura. Gon says, while this may not be true for other martial arts, the wild wind dance is the soul of the Wild Wind Squad. That Wu is even considering trying to bet with the wild wind dance on the line dishonors the squad. which is the foundation of the 9-dragon division. So Wui should refrain from doing so in the future. Wui says Gon normally comes off as a playboy, but he really is the fierce scale. Warrior. Wui asks if Gon really believes he has no right to learn. The wild wind dance, Gon says Wui does have the right since he is a disciple of the family. Since Gon has already shown it to the first young lady and the third young master, there should be no issue with him showing Wui as well. Wui says the rights he is referring to do not have to do with lineage, asking whether from Gon's point of view, Wui has that capability. Gon wonders what Wu is talking about, and Wui yells out his name asking if he thinks he has the talent to become a wild wind specifically. W is asking whether or not he has the right to pick up the legacy of the wild wind squad. Gon starts to shudder thinking about the legacy, because after their last gruesome defeat, the wild wind squad ceased to exist, but Gon would love to become a wild wind member just once more. That's how for 20 years he buried the legacy of the wild wind in his heart, and who would have imagined that he would be hearing those words from the weakest of the successors? However, Ji says, while the words touch his heart, Wui is also the one who spoke about using the wild wind dance in a bet which is too difficult for him to accept. Wui says this is frustrating, and if the moment he met Gon 4 hours ago, he had asked him to teach the wild wind dance, because he wished to inherit the wild wind, would Gon have quietly taught him, even when he showed Wui the shadow step. It's not like he struggled with that decision. Gon looks away saying he has no response to that. He says that Wui provoked him in order to prove his worth. He heard that Wui had changed, but he sees that Wui was just hiding his strength and cleverness. Wui says it's something like that. Gan says the martial arts he taught Wui, the shadow step included, were all ones that the young master Wui he knew would have found difficult. He should have needed an amount of inner energy that 2 months was not enough for. But he sees Wu's been collecting inner energy beneath the matriarch's gaze. Now that the Dark Sovereign is to visit, Wui is going to reveal the claws he had hidden. Wui says that's right. While sweating nervously, Gan says that it is a truly devious backstabbing plot that tricks even family members. Wu says he realizes that's a compliment coming from the Tang clan, but it still feels awkward to hear the elders say that it seems they have finally noticed his true potential, and there is no response other than to admire the demonstration. Wu says these fossils just sound like they want to become food already. Wu asks Gon if that means he's going to teach him. The elders continue mocking him, saying that there's no way. Gon will not be swayed by the young lord's words. Wu says he's already decided they're definitely going to be turned into food. Gon says fine. He will teach him the wild wind dance. Woni turns, saying that he formally requests to be taught by the martial arts instructor. Tang Gon is a little taken aback, but smirks, and introduces himself formally as well, saying that he accepts the request. Unlike the preceding techniques, this one is going to prove very difficult. Wui says he would like to change the stakes, and God asks why he's still betting. Wui says he wants to bet whether or not he'll master the wild wind dance in 1 day, and the loser will buy the winner a meal and drinks. Gon agrees in sighs, saying it sounds good, but he believes he's going to win this time, telling Wu to watch carefully. Gan jumps off the floor. Gan says the previous members of the Wild Wind Squad had promised not to become involved with the family's succession. This is why even if Wu inherits the Wild Wind, they cannot support him as successor. However, he will be able to tell others that he has made a good drinking buddy, someone who can walk the path of the Wild Wind, together with them a new member of the Wild Wind. As we see Gon demonstrating the technique it lives up to. Its name sending out violent wind all about. Only immediately it jumps to Gon looking defeated. He says it does not matter that he lost the bet, as it can only be a blessing for the family. If Wui is this outstanding. However good drinking buddy is. This is way more than 1 meal, as Wui is eating everything under the sun. The innkeeper walks over to Gon asking if he needs anything else, and Gon says to add some alcohol as there's no way he can handle this. Sober Wui asks if he's an alcoholic, saying maybe they should have gone to the Dragon Lord Pavilion, and instead Gon says W is only saying that because he knows how expensive the place is in the first place. This is a good enough spot as it is the best food in the area. Well, I says it does seem that way. Gon starts chugging a drink, saying even if it's a bit expensive, he wanted to buy a good one and have a great time. He didn't know why I would order a whole week's worth of food. Why says they're going to a high-end, and like the Dragon Lord Pavilion wouldn't align with his plans anyhow, as there are a large number of end like this one on the main street thanks to the confinement handed down by the matriarch. He had to be patient for 2 months and he can no longer delay it. He leaves some kind of mark under the desk. The elder recognizes it is the mystic skill for contacting the demon-worshipping divine fire sect, and asks if that's what Wei came here for. Wei says that he needs to tell those who are still in the pit of despair that the junior heavenly demon, still exists. Spidey is sitting up in a tree saying, "It's been 10 days without any suspicious activity, and he wonders how much longer he needs to keep watch." But then something catches his eye as he spots the Kwangchang sect uniform, and he wonders why someone from the Tang family is wearing that, only for him to immediately recognize it as the first young lady Kyujin. He says that since she's the daughter of Sanong, there's bound to be some scheming, if they meet. The mention of the word daughter makes him catch some feelings, and he says that he hopes that child is safe and sound, but he immediately locks back in saying it isn't the time, and he'll get on the junior lord's good side and ask for a favor. He attaches himself to the side of the wall, and we hear Sanong asking Kyujin if she intends to push a dagger into her mother's heart. Spidey is confused, and Kyujin says that it would still be nothing compared to the number of times Sanong has hurt Woni, and this time she's ordered for his confinement and fasting. Sanong tells her not to worry about that, and that right now someone has his back and is secretly providing for him. We see Kyujin shaking with anger, and Sanong tells her not to worry and just focus on the Dark Sovereign's visit. Kyujin slams the table, asking if Sanong thinks that's any reason to treat Woni like this, and she's sure Sanong didn't even know someone was backing him and that she was only trying to kill him. Sanong wonders why Kyujin is making such a fuss over a mere bastard, yet she's her own flesh and blood. Kyujin says that all Sanong ever says is bastard, this bastard that, and she hasn't changed one bit. Kyujin says she has no choice but to reveal the truth. Sang pleads, telling her to wait. As Kyujin storms out of the building, Sanong says that Kyujin righteousness has been her weak point ever since she was little, but it's gotten worse after entering the Kwangchang sect. She wonders how Kyujin will receive the position of successor if she's acting this way. Spidey wonders how to report this because all he can tell is the family is dysfunctional as hell. Sanong stands up yelling, saying it's all that bastard's fault, and there's no need to wait until the Dark Sovereign's visit. She asks if someone's outside, saying she's going to head out. Spidey says that if she's going out of the house right now, it must mean she's going to visit a sorcerer back at the training area. Wei says it's been 10 days since he engraved the summoning order mark on the tavern, but there's no reaction at all. Even within this county, the demon-worshipping divine fire sect contact should have had deployment information. Either the contact withdrew or they can't act freely because of some restrictions. It's clear that the situation is not good for either side, and if he doesn't hurry up and become stronger, it's going to get worse. Gun says that Wei did a good job, and he sees that Wei is good at imitating the weapon arts as well. Wei asks if Gon is upset, and Gon says for a person of the Tang clan to learn weapon arts before the assassination and poison arts, he just doesn't understand it. Wei says that these Tang clan bastards are so narrow-minded. Wei says the dispersing flower staff technique is also a martial art of the Tang clan, and that's why it has been separated into parts like this. Gon is surprised that Wu is already noticed, and Wu Ai asks if he's not Gon's amazing student who learns 10 things. When he's taught one, pointing to himself pridefully, Gon looks grossed out, saying, "Bro needs humility." Wu says that because many sects try to express their understanding of martial arts in specific forms, their movements of a signature technique often end up unnecessarily complex. However, the Tang clan is famous for their assassination techniques and poison arts too, martial arts that make use of tools. Therefore, the Tang clan's martial arts have broken their signature technique into parts, so no matter what tools are used, they could move to the next one. While the Tang clan's martial arts are far from flashy, they make up for it in practicality. Of course, the Tang clan system is the basis for successful assassination and effective poison usage, but his master's Heavenly Demon's 9 swords, which he wishes to learn, is also a signature technique that is broken into parts. The Tang clan's weapon art system may come in useful when he mixes it, and it could allow him to use his master's technique, which he can only dream of, more effectively. He's sorry to Gon, but the assassination techniques and poison arts will have to wait. Gan just wonders what Wei is scheming and tells him that Kyujin has arrived. Wei starts to recall the original body's memories and that his older sister is the only person who ever treated him like real family. She was firmly engraved in his residual thoughts, and even after taking over the body, he's received multiple letters from her. They were all full of worries and affection, and he hopes that Kyujin will have an okay relationship with him. However, he plans to become mortal enemies with Sanong, and he wonders if Kyujin will stay on her side. After that, Gon says that today Wei is to go around greeting the elders in the clan and Gon will return tomorrow. Wei Sai saying he guesses so, and that it's going to be difficult to do this, and he should hurry up with his business before his older sister arrives. God asks if it's the thing Wui said he was going to start today, and Wooni asks what Gon means by start, saying, "It's already completed." It jumps to Yuch Chong, asking Hyung Sam if he is stuck to the pill creation method for the last 10 days. Hang Sam says, yes, he is absolutely correct, direct, and Yuch Chong throws him a bag of money. Hyang Sam thanks him and quickly runs off Yu Chong, then calls out to someone named Muong, who asks if he only has to take care of Wui. Yuch Chong says yes, since Wui has been consuming madness poison for 10 days straight. It's sure to have completely filled his system. Even if Wu's backer notices and tries to detoxify him, it will be difficult to fully recover before the Dark Sovereign's visit. Yuch Chong says they sent Gon as an instructor for appearance's sake, but he's putting a surprise and amount of effort into teaching Wui. Even Gon took 8 whole days to learn the Shadow Steps forms no matter how much Wui tries to train. Yuch Chong is sure Wui will barely be able to learn one form before the Dark Sovereign's visit. The true issue is Wu's older sister Yuch Chong heard that as soon as she got home, she got into a huge fight with Sanong, and there may be a setback in Yuch Chong's current plans. Once she turns 30, she should officially become the successor of the 9 Dragons branch family. She has too much sympathy to become the Tang clan's branch family leader. She didn't learn the Tang clan's martial arts and immediately left for the Kwangchang sect. Despite all that, she became the 9 Dragon branch family's successor, and Yuch Chong starts to smile, looking to the sky, saying it should have been him. Someone then enters saying that a letter has arrived from the White Pavilion, and Yuch Chong says to enter. The dude says that it's actually a letter from Wui, but he seems a little nervous. Yuch Chong asks, "What's wrong?" Tells him to hand over the letter, and it's pretty much just Wui, cursing him out, saying, "Let's throw hands." Yu Chong starts to hold back his anger, asking if the madness poison is already taking effect, and says it could be a plan set by Wu's backer. It could be a contraption that releases poison, causing him to lose himself in anger once the letter is opened, which is something easily available within their clan. But then Yuch Chong sees there actually is no special contraption on the inside of the letter. It's just Wu saying that he wishes to reforge the awkward relationship they have as brothers, and he wants to release any pent-up bad blood like martial artists through a spar. Yuch Chong says, Wei is obviously trying to pull some trick, and he needs to turn Wei into a stepping stone in front of the Dark Sovereign and used it as the foundation for his meteoric rise. Yu Chong tells his budget Hang Sam that he has received the letter and he's grateful for Wui's suggestion, but he wants to reject the duel. An hour later, Wui replies back, pretty much just calling him a small fry side character. Yuch Chong laughs angrily, saying Wui must be in a hurry and he'll likely continue to send things, so Yuch Chong orders them to start rejecting the letters from now on. The next morning, when Yuch Chong wakes up, he sees the words chicken on the wall in front of him. He tells someone to go out to the White Pavilion and tell Wui to head to the second training ground tomorrow at noon, and Wei Chong will gladly shove Wui's head into the Tai pit the next day. At noon, we see Hyang Sam telling Wei about it, and W wonders why Yu Chong played so hard to get in the first place. God asks how Wei provoked Yu Chong, but tells he doesn't have to answer if he doesn't want to. Wei says he has no idea how he did it. Wu snickers, saying there's no way his brother will become patriarch with such little patience, and he asks Gon if he's going to try stopping him. Gon asks why he would, saying that it's about to be a very entertaining fight. Wei says he's going to make sure he just beats Yi Chong half to death because he doesn't want to kill him. We get a flashback to QJ asking Yu Chong if he's really planning to duel Wei, wondering why he would do such a thing. Yuch Chong tells her that Wei provoked him first, so if she has a problem with that, she should go find Wu instead. She's surprised that her brother would provoke Yuch Chong first. That is what led us here to see her standing outside the White Pavilion, but she wonders what's going on with all this ghost and death key emanating from the pavilion. As she heads inside, she's sure that this is exactly what it is, as there are multiple instances of death and poison key staining the area in many places. It's like the dwelling of a martial artist that's gone to the outer path. She then feels a chill as there is ghost key directly behind her. She quickly draws her blade and swings it behind her, aiming straight for Wui's neck. He manages to stop the blade, and she's surprised, asking if he is really Wui. He tells her that her greeting is a little violent, and she quickly apologizes, saying that she did try to stop it, but didn't expect her attack to get stopped in the first place. Wei says that she just had to come in when he was doing his inner energy cultivation using the Venom Dragon Essence art, and he noticed her way too late. His plans will go bad if his current poison and inner energy levels are exposed to Yuch Chong, and if San Young sent her here before his fight with Yu Chong, then this is going to be real bad. She says that she was worried because of what she heard their mother did to him, but she's really glad to see he's doing well, and she starts to smile. Wei says it's the same expression his master would give off, and he can tell she's truly worried about him. He says that it looks like she wasn't sent by the matriarch, and his head starts to hurt. She then drops her blade and immediately comments on the energy coming from him, asking him if he has fallen to the outer path. He asks if she's talking about the poisonous energy that he's learned, and she quickly covers her nose because of the aura. He tells her that it's cursed poison. In truth, it's a compound energy made of mystic power and poison key made to look like cursed poison. It will be difficult to hide the mystic power and ghost key of his Reaper sight. In the future, he needed a similar source to divert their suspicions. She asks why he's using cursed poison, and he is saying that this is the only poison he can use if he wants to use poison poon key without the support of the clan. She looks suspicious, and he says that he can tell she's not convinced, as a member of the Tang clan pursuing strength is so natural that he would use anything that is available to him. He then widens his stance, telling her that if she's still dissatisfied even with that, then she should try to stop him by overpowering him. He starts to exude his aura, and she's taken aback, saying that he really has changed a lot. She quickly says that he's definitely different from before, and there's a reason why Mother and Yu Chong are wary of him, and he even knows how to say such stimulating things as well. He's immediately surprised by this, saying that her energy and killing intent are very familiar, and she starts to laugh, saying that he really is beyond her expectations, and she starts to blush. He says it's exactly as he thought. It's that energy, the seed of the divergent spiritual root, and among them it had to be the blue ghost face root. He says there were many rumors in the past, and he wonders how Qiu Jin, the first successor of the family, became a disciple of the Guangchang sects. He says it is a spiritual root that practically has a requirement of becoming a divergent one that imparts ultimate talent to its possessor. However, the spiritual root is a root of the spirit, as its name suggests. That is why the spiritual root grows within the cultivation of the soul. This is something that aligns a lot of principles with the training methods of the Guangchang sect, which puts emphasis on cultivating the mind. Most importantly, the blue ghost face root is a spiritual root that thrives on conflict, mixed with the martial principle of the Tang plan, which is might makes right. She'll become a death demon that doesn't care about methods or consequences. He says he doesn't think she's in a position to comment on his energy when hers is in such a state. She immediately sheathes her blade and apologizes, saying she forgot why she came here for a moment, and she's sorry for drawing her blade and interrupting his training. He says she retracted the killing intent of the blue ghost face root. So easily training from the Guangchang sect will have played a part in it, but it seems that Qiu Jin is someone with very high self-control. He asks if she likes tea, and we see her drinking it, saying it's gas. She says she's enjoyed tea often in Guangchang, but this is new. He says he procured it, especially from Thousand AI. She seems really happy, saying she didn't know he was so knowledgeable about tea. She reaches into a bag she brought, saying she brought this for him as it's candy sold in Mishan. She says last time he said he liked it a lot, but Wu says he doesn't really like sweet things. But he'll show his gratitude in the original Wui's place. She seems really happy that he enjoys it. But in reality, Wu says he can't get used to it. He can't believe that this is the same person who exuded a killing intent. Just a few minutes ago, he asks her what she's here for and tries to tell her that if she's here to stop his duel, but she cuts him off, saying that was one of the reasons. But she came here to apologize to him first for all the things that Mother and Yu Chong have been doing to him all this time. He says that he hopes she knows that her apology won't make him forgive them. She says that she understands, but she still wanted to do it anyway, and that she really is very sorry. Wei Sai saying even if she does that, he won't take back the duel. She says that she thought he was being pressured into it, so she wanted to stop him. However, it looks like Ai Chong is actually the one being swept up by him. But she asks if it will be okay, saying although his energy just now is great, Yu Chong is very strong, and she's heard that he's been preparing something else against him as well. Wei says she must know that they are planning something, but not specifically what. And he drinks his tea, saying that he's prepared as well since they have fed him the madness poison. They must think that he'll be destroyed the moment they activate the sorcery. Qiu Jin tells him that even if he defeats Yu Chong, he can't ignore the power that Yu Chong and San Yang hold in the clan. She says that if Yu Chong loses, their mother will do whatever it takes to conceal that fact. Wani laughs, saying she worries too much, and the duel is happening because it's what he wants, and she should come and watch tomorrow at the second martial stage. She's a little surprised but says sure. It then jumps to the next day, As it's time for the fight, we see people selling food all over to the people who came to spectate the fight, as there's a whole crowd, and they're even betting on who is going to win. And within how many strikes, Jin is surprised and asks Wei if this is what he was aiming for. He says yes, saying if it is like this, even the matriarch will have a hard time denying the outcome. Also, Yuch Chong, who he looks at sitting over on the side, seems to have quite the stage fright. And as the older brother Wei plans to help him out as it gets closer to the time of the fight, Gon leans over the rail saying that a lot of people have gathered. We are introduced to a couple of members of the Righteous Wind Hall named Tae, and Jen Tae says it seems like the young master has already decided to cause a scene. Gon says he didn't expect to see both of them here too. Kay tells him that they work here, and with as many people gathered to watch the duel between the two successors, it's only right to try and keep things under control and prevent accidents. Gan says that aside, he wonders what they think about who's going to win. T says that even if he helped Y, it's only been 10 days. Jen also adds that he has no doubt Yuch Chong will win. Gon says that everybody's probably here thinking that, but they shouldn't forget that it was actually Wu who arranged the duel. Surely it makes them curious as to what he's planning back to Yu Chong. He asks his budget. Hyang Sam, if that's everything? Hyang Sam says yes, and he heard Wu spread the word about the duel, and even had the fierce Gale warriors open the gates for everybody to watch. Yuch Chong says that at best this will only be a match where he puts that illegitimate dog in his place. Yet it looks like all of the merchants of the county are here to watch too. Wei starts to talk to him through some sound transmission, asking what's got him. So worked up, calling him little brother and asking if he's nervous because the matriarch isn't with him, calling him a mama's boy. Then he tells him that he should go and bring his mother as his big brother will wait for him. Yuch Chong starts to get pissed, saying we should quit before his crudeness rubs off on him in a mocking tone. Wu says to stop it, adding that mama's boy will only listen to kind and polite words. Yu Chong shakes with anger, yelling for Wei to shut the hell up. Wu continues mocking him in a baby's voice, saying, I told you to stop this. Snaps something in Yu Chong and he yells, calling Wu an illegitimate mud. He immediately leaps to the platform, telling Wu to come out. The spectators are surprised that Yu Chong came up first when Wu Yi was the one who challenged him. Wu Yi slowly heads up the stairs, saying Yu Chong is too easy to provoke and rile up, and he's only making things easier for him. They have their Wu Yi standoff. Wu formally introduces himself, saying he's from the White Pavilion. He admits he might not have a title and he's just a nobody, but he hopes they have a good match. Yuch Chong starts to laugh, asking why Wu is behaving himself, and whether he's nervous now that he's actually on stage Q. Jin sigh after watching, thinking that while she taught Wei how to use sound telepathy, Yu Chong should have kept his cool. She overhears some of the merchants saying Wei showing respect, but Yuch Chong isn't. Q Jin notes that with this act, Wei has flipped public opinion, making it seem like he's the one accepting the challenge. However, in the end, the result of the duel is what matters. And while Wei seems confident, Yu Chong is also known as the Dark Shadow Genius, and is a prominent rising talent in the clan. Yuch Chong gets in Wei's face, saying those taunts are probably all he has, and Wei asks if he's only here to talk. This makes Yu Chong even angrier as he reaches into his uniform. He says he doesn't know what tricks Wu is hiding, but things won't go his way. Yuch Chong throws a smoke bomb to the ground. All of the spectators wonder why he would use that, saying now they can't see anything. Even Wei says he didn't think Yuch Chong would use a smokescreen bomb, but it makes sense, as using Shadow Key in an open space like this without any cover wasn't the best idea to begin with. Yuch Chong tries to attack from behind, but he strikes an after image as Wei uses Shadow Step. Wei asks if UCH forgot Gon taught him this technique. Yu Chong immediately turns, trying to attack Wei again, but Wei dashes past him, saying it seems like Yuch Chong sure did forget. Yu Chong says he didn't expect Wei to have already mastered it, but even if his mother thinks otherwise, he still has his father's blood. He claims Shadow Step is just a technique that complements Shadow Key. As Yuch Chong gets into his stance, he says he's going to show Wei the true meaning of Shadow Key. He leans to his side at an insane speed and starts down, dashing around the entire arena, like Bellamy from One Piece. Wu says this is a technique that melts one's presence into the shadows, making it impossible to detect them by sound or sight. He can see why Yuch Chong is called the Shatter Genius, but he won't let that stop him. Yuch Chong strikes at another after image, annoyed as he goes back for more, but every strike only hits a shadowy wisp, which repeats for 3 attacks. Wei says Yuch Chong can't deceive his Reaper's sight, and his murderous intent is way too obvious. He could still sense him even without L lying on it. Tae is surprised to see Wei using Shadow Step at that level. and notes Yuch Chang's improved control over Shadow Ki, likely thanks to his secluded training. Jen wonders if Wei plans to dodge until the smoke clears, but TSI saying if Wei doesn't have a finishing move, it's just wasting time. Gon laughs, saying he taught Wei something for that finishing blow. Kay and Jan are surprised, asking if Gon went beyond what the Grand Matriarch asked of him. Gon wonders why they have so little faith in him, and they say surely he's aware they know him better than anyone else. As the fog settles and sunlight pours into the fight, Yu Chong hits another shadow clone and insults Wu, calling him an illegitimate rat. He says it's getting harder to use Shadow Ki as the smoke screen dissipates. Yu Chong dashes around again, starting to generate his own after images, saying that as long as Wei is in this ring, he won't be able to dodge this. Now there are multiple images of him float in the air. He uses the downpour of pear blossom needles, specifically the Heavenly Lady scattering flowers. Q Jin sees this and realizes Yu Chong is trying to kill Wei as the needles get closer. Wei doesn't even move. Smiling instead, he says he was going to play with Yu Chong a bit more, but it's time to end the charade. All the needles fly off in different directions, as if the wind itself protects Woni, creating a barrier. The audience is surprised, asking what's with the wind, but Q Jin recognizes it as the wild wind. She recalls the stance wound we took yesterday. While she was able to get a better look due to the poison ghost key, she now knows the technique he has learned is none other than the wild wind dance. Yu Chong is surprised as he recognizes it too, and says that he refuses to believe this, saying neither he nor Q Jin could master it, asking how Wu did. Wu laughs, saying it's thanks to a certain someone for assigning him a really good martial instructor. He crouches down, saying he guesses he's going to have to show him some gratitude, as he dashes off the ground, immediately closing the gap in front of Yu Chong before Yu Chong can even react. Wei is already opening his palm. Coming in with an attack from the Wild Wind Dance, he hits him straight in the gut, and we learn the name of the attack is called the Wild Wind Explosion, and it launches Yu Chong all the way out of the arena into a nearby wall. As we hear a loud crash, we see him slumped over in front of the wall as he has even dented it. The audience is surprised that Yu Chong lost to Wei in a single strike for him to do. That is such a crazy upset. Nobody expected anything of this caliber. T asks Gon how W knew the Wild Wind Dance, and Wei says he told them he had a finishing move. T says not to brush it off like that, and Gon says he's right, and he won't, asking what they think, and if that looks different from the wind they used to follow. Tay asks if he's really trying to say that Wu has the same wind talent as the branch head. Gon laughs, saying though it could still use some work. He managed to create a wild wind in just 10 days, and that's the kind of talent he wields. It might be too early to make a decision, but keeping tabs on him is worthwhile, at least asking if they agree. It says besides he doesn't know if they were just empty words, but he claimed that he would inherit the Wild Wind Squad. So how can he not have high expectations? Gon then realizes he's still shrouded in the wind and wonders what he's doing as Wu calls out to Q Jin, asking if she would also like to have a duel, saying even though her little brother may be lacking, he would appreciate it. The audience are confused who is talking to, and then they recognize her as Q Jin, and they say that now that they actually are looking at her, she must have left Qingchang in time for the Dark Sovereign's visit, and they didn't recognize her because it's been so long. They say that they wonder if this means they'll get to see a duel between Wu with his mastery of the Wild Wind Dance and the greatest prodigy of the Sichuan clan, Q Jin. They start to cheer her on, saying this will be on a completely different level than the previous one, and they sure are lucky, and they start chanting her name, which makes her feel uncomfortable. Jen says that it seems like things are heating up, and Tay asks Gon if he thinks that Wei stands a chance. Gon says that he shouldn't be skilled enough to face her, and he wonders what he's thinking. Defeating Wei Chong will be enough to increase his standing in the branch family, but if he can beat Q Jin, he could even aim to be the successor. But if he loses, he'll just make his sister the star of today's event, and even Q Jin should know that this is a bad move on his part. So she sits there wondering what he's thinking, saying if nobody else was around, she wouldn't care about saving face. But with eyes on them, it would be a stain on the clan's reputation for her to shy away. We hear the blue ghost face rot, asking why she's being so considerate, saying he's the one who picked the fight first, and says that they know she's itching for a fight. She should just follow her instincts. She covers her ears, shakes her head, saying no, saying that Wu's been abused for too long, and she needs to prioritize him over the reputation of the clan. W then asks her what she has her thinking so hard, saying it's just a friendly duel and that she's worrying too much as she can just enjoy it. That immediately makes her realize something as she leaps past him, saying that she's been holding back so much. Everybody's glad that she actually entered the stage. and we see her pivot turning around and she formally introduces herself, saying that she has received the teaching of Monk Wo for 5 years and the one energy of heaven and earth. But she says that the people of the martial realm have graced her with a title of Thousand-Petal Beauty, and she hopes it'll be an honorable duel, which is pretty much the same thing she just did, telling her not to go easy on him, that everybody starts cheering, saying now that the duel is official. He says that she seems happy, and she says that it has been a while as we see her actually blushing, and she says she hasn't been this excited in forever. He says that she seems a little too excited, and she asks how she could not be, as her dear Wei wants to have a duel with his big sister as we see her sheath hit the ground. Wei says well then and starts to get into his stance, asking her if she is ready. She says of course, as we see the blue ghost face root starting to take hold, and she starts the charge and telling him that it's time to get started. He says he hoped that she would give him at least a 3-second head start, and he uses another technique from the Wild Wind dance called the Cutting North Winds technique, blocking her strike, creating a shockwave as we see him doing it with his bare hand. She says this is the same thing he used yesterday to block her sword. She then distances herself, saying that this makes her think that now she can swing as hard as she wants. She firmly plants her foot into the ground, dashing forward, and starts laughing, asking why she should give a head start in the first place, saying he told her not to go easy on him. I says that she's fast, and in that case he needs to try to throw her off as he uses the shadow after image, splitting himself into 3. She says that she can't believe he's using Yu Chong's technique even though he just saw it, and that he's blowing her away. But she immediately cuts through the other images, heading straight towards Wu Yi, saying that it is still too half-baked. As we see him having to block the attack, it sends him backwards a little bit, but he manages to regain his footing, asking when the swordsmanship of Qing Chang was so violent. She says that this isn't the Qing Chang swordsmanship, but since he's hiding the energy he showed yesterday, she's going to keep her secrets too, as she starts to laugh. He thinks about something, and then says in that case he'll show her as he starts to activate his aura, as we see a perp ISU start to form off of him, as he's using the Venom Dragon's essence art, called the Ghost Dragon release. We see her eyes light up and she says this is what she wanted. As that poison and ghost key is so desirable, she launches some wind attacks towards him, and then readies her blade, and in the reflection, we can see the blue ghost face, Rude, enjoying the hell out of this, as it seems as if it's possessing her, as it says that it has been itching to fight against this key. Wei says that the atmosphere has completely changed. Now the killing intent of the blue ghost face Rude has been bound by the clear energies of the Qing Chang sword, and oddly enough she reminds him of a demon wearing the clothes of a maiden. Since he's been given the first hit, he shouldn't hold back, and he'll control the flow by starting off with a strong attack. He punches forward, but she sidesteps it, recognizing it as the wild wind explosion that defeated Yu Chong, saying it's much stronger than before. She immediately counters as we see a blade coming for Wu Yi's eyes. He barely ducks underneath it as it cuts some of his hair, and he says that it was too obvious. The movements of the wild wind dance are too wide, and he should be careful about that. Whenever he fights someone stronger than him, he thanks her for the lesson, saying that the wild wind dance is a one-hit lethal martial art that boasts explosive momentum and fits with the supreme techniques of the Tang clan, but one-hit lethal techniques only work on those of a similar level. Wu puts his hands up ready to block in case she goes for a follow-up attack, but she doesn't. He says in that case he needs a martial art that fits for continuous exchanges as he gets ready to use the 12 fierce tiger steps, and that he plans to IMB the wild winds into this, of course. Q Jin immediately recognizes the stance change, and is surprised he learned that as well, while they're trading blow for blow. Wu says the greatest advantage to the wild wind dance is its explosive propulsion. If he uses the propulsion of the wild wind for the rotational movements of the 12 fierce tiger steps, it will allow him to do everything more explosively. We see him jump straight over her slash. She looking scary. He comes down from above with a flying axe kick, which she backsteps, causing him to smash the ground. Instead, he says, he needs to go even faster than this, as he starts to use the wild wind dance to propel himself forward. She says she understands he's trying to connect the flow of the chained attacks, but he should expect his opponent will strike back when they have the distance. She uses the sword of discharge, lightning of extreme light. We see the attack starting to hit Wei all over as he can only block so much of it. He says he was too reckless by charging her, as he continuously keeps getting scraped by the attacks. He ducks into her next attack, narrowly escaping death, leaving her surprised, but she immediately says that this is now a real fight, telling him to entertain her more. As they yet began trading blow for blow in the middle of the stage, the crowd starts to go wild. One of the spectators notices something as it's none other than the budget Hang Sam as Yu Chong is awake asking what's going on. Yu Chong says on top of him losing. He didn't expect Wui to be able to keep up with Q Jin as well. He asks if his mother has returned but budget Hang. Sam says, no, he says he knows Q Jin won't lose, but the longer this takes, the higher that bastard's worth will increase. As he hears the crowd starting to chant for Wui, he says, and although it won't happen if somehow Q Jin does lose, it would lead to the worst case scenario, and he begs for anything, but that Yu Chong's fist comes straight into contact with her blade, and he knocks it backwards up into the air. He says this is his chance as he goes in to take advantage of the opening. It seems he was a bit careless, as Q Jin's knee flies straight in, hitting him in the chin, and she says he's focusing on the sword too much. He says he didn't expect this, as kicking techniques don't belong to the Ching Chang sect, and she asks if he's that confused, saying although she's learning under their guidance, she's learned the martial arts of the Tang clan until just 5 years ago. W says that the Ching Chang's honest strikes and the Tang clan striking techniques that aim for weak points, which can seem as dishonest, are two opposite martial arts, but are aligned perfectly for some reason, and that this must be the true power of the blue ghost face route as he comes in for a kick to her head. She ducks underneath it and immediately closes the distance, getting behind him by utilizing shadow step. He narrowly avoids getting his head lobbed off, but again loses some hair and distances himself, saying his mouth feels hot and his heartbeat is pounding throughout his entire body. And this is how it feels to actually use martial arts and fight somebody. Q Jin tells him that he's pretty interesting, and he asks what she means. She says the fact that he can't escape the strict forms of martial arts and his movements make him seem like a beginner, but the way he reads his opponent's moves and avoids them is as sensitive as that of an old master who has fought over 100 battles. He laughs, asking if that's really the case, saying that now he understands how he moves for her with his original body, which had no inner energy. He needed to survive amongst the peak martial artists who could kill civilians with a single hit, and reading his opponent's intentions and dodging their attacks was the battle strategy he honed for decades to survive and win. But after he gained inner energy, he forgot about those important things, and when he used the dark arts, he didn't use them because he was lacking in the basics of the mystic arts, and he starts to smirk, saying, that won't change for martial arts either. She starts to get excited since he's seemingly different and says that's a great look, as it looks like he's thought of something to try. She jumps through the air, twirling as if she was dancing, saying that she can't wait to see what her precious Wui came up with. Now that she's in his face, she tells him to go ahead and show her. He starts to read her intentions, saying that she's not aiming for his vitals, as it's in the blue Ghostface Root's nature to enjoy a duel as long as possible. And combined with Q Jin's way of holding back, it's created carelessness as we see him preparing his hand for an attack. He says he's thankful for her kindness, but that doesn't mean he won't use this opportunity, as he uses the splitting tiger's claw, sending her flying backwards. But she seems a bit disappointed, saying that it's not a bad attack, but this is still the same. But then she realizes something, as she's not really flying back as far as she should, as the wind itself is stopping her. Because the wind that she deflected with her attack just now is being gathered in front of Wui and restricting her movements. She starts to laugh, asking if he's already become this proficient controlling the wind. Wu rears his fist back, readying for the finishing blow, and Q Jin realizes that this is actually dangerous. She puts her sword up to block the attack, but the attack is so powerful, as soon as it comes into contact with her blade, there is an extreme shockwave, unlike anything else they've seen today, shaking the entirety of the arena, and the ground around them gone, and his boys, and even every one of the participants, Yu Chong included, can't believe what they just witnessed, and Wu even strikes a cool-ass pose afterwards. Then he raises up and looks over towards Q Jin. It goes back to Gon and his boys. Part 3 watching the match, and they immediately turn at him confused, and he asks what they want. Then they wonder if Q Jin is okay. He asks if he didn't see that. Gon says even though Wui has far exceeded their expectations, what they were actually all surprised by was the light they just witnessed, as we see something forming around where Q Jin was standing. Wui asks her if she doesn't think that was a bit too cheap. She surprised Ed that he saw, saying that she wanted to keep it hidden until he brought it out. We see her smiling once, again saying that she guesses it can't be helped. Now she's been found out, she starts to exude a different energy than we've seen before, which we learn is actually sword energy, as she has finally reached the threshold of the peak stage. Yu Chong is super excited, saying that he knew he could believe in his sister, and now with this Wu has no way of winning. Q Jin says that as he already knows she can't drag things out any longer. Now that this has been brought out, he says he knows that dragging things out with someone of a lower level is seen as rude. She says it's too bad though, as she wanted to have some more fun, and she asks if she can see what he's hiding as well. Wei says that as she said this, duel will end with the next exchange. Although his cutting north wind technique blocked her attack just now, it's not going to be able to block a Ching Chang sword strike with sword energy, and he can't afford to show his dark arts, so he only has one card left to play. She starts to laugh again, saying it looked like he's thought of something to try, and he asks if it really looks that way. She says yes, because right now it looks like his heart is racing, as even he has a smile on his face, which confuses him. He says he might have gotten a bit excited, and being cornered like this made him realize he's crazy about martial arts. She says that's a strange thing to say, and he asks what she means. She says that people like that, who are so crazy about martial arts, or what they call martial artists, asking if she's wrong. He realizes that it was actually so simple. And he starts to laugh, saying he understands he was so absorbed in rushing to master martial arts after being reborn. But that was not the type of martial artist that he envied in the past. The emotion he felt while competing with her, whether it was to see how the martial arts he mastered played out, or how those martial arts fared against an opponent, it was the desire to rise up and win. This is the feeling he wanted from becoming a martial artist. She said it looks like he's had enough time to catch his breath, asking if she can attack, and he tells her to go for it. She dashes off the ground extremely fast as we see him preparing something. She tightens her grip on her blade, raising into the air, imbuing sword energy into it, about to strike down. We see W preparing a Kamehameha, saying is expected of her energy, then he'll use his own final strike that has the most destructive power among all of the movements in the Wild Wind dance. From there, he'll mix in Ghost Key and concentrate. He stretches his hand out, readying his technique as they both collide with one another. We learn it's called the Booming Wild Cannon, as the collision from their aura actually sends bits of the arena flying through the air. Wei starts to get pushed back, and he wonders if it's not enough against somebody who's almost at the peak. The sword energy starts to actually split around his attack, and he says that he needs to clear his head of these trivial thoughts because he's being pushed back. Whether his strike will land or not, it's not as simple as that. The remnants from her attack go behind him, absolutely shattering even more of the arena. The pressure alone makes Yuchong almost fall over, and he says that he's upset that a gap has grown between his and his sister's skills. There's no way that Wu survived a hit from that attack unscathed. Then he starts to see a purple aura in the middle of the smoke from the arena, and says there's no way this is the moment Wu has been aiming for, as we see her sword is pretty much out of sword energy, and it looks like it's about to crack. He says this was the moment when even she's caught off guard, because that is indeed what's happening. As we see the crack on the sword expanding even more, he completely shatters it, dashing past her, sending parts of her blade through the air. He says it was inevitable because once the sword energy left, it only became a normal sword. His hand starts to shake, and he says that his arm has been paralyzed. But in a fight, the winner has normally decided the moment a sword breaks, but it's not over yet as we see him readying aura into his feet. Now he says that, because it's Kyujin, she's the wielder of the blue ghost face rot. As we see her turning to smile, he also starts to smile as well, saying that he knows she won't be stopped by a mere broken sword, but of course it's the same for him. He makes the first move, leaping off the ground, soaring into the air, saying that he's going to put all of his remaining strength into this final strike. He starts to rotate his body for a kick while using the Wild Wind dance to propel himself, and it's called the Demonic Wind Hammer. Jin is absolutely loving every minute of this, saying that he's the best. She then starts to imbue her feet as well. With aura lowering herself to the ground, she leaps off using her own kicking technique called the Rising Dragon Kick Ascent to the Heavens Gone, and his boys realize that they need to get down there and stop this before they collide with one another. But then they immediately tense up, because as we see a shadowy figure leap into the middle of both of their kicks, stopping them, he says that he believes this is enough for playing around, leaving them both surprised. The man took that effortlessly and asked if they were thinking of greeting the family head from sickbeds. Jin immediately greets him as the family head, but Wei hesitates for a second and says that this must be his father, but he does the same thing she does and greets him. We are finally introduced to Tang Hosen. Dumpling tells him that he must be careful, and Goatee says that he thought he would have gotten weaker after the Wild Wind Squad was disbanded, but he can't believe he's accomplished this much. But Baldy is just scared. Wei says that he can also tell even if he specializes in leading large organizations, he is still the leader of the Tang Clan Special Martial Unit, and he thought the Wild Wind Squad's leader would only be as strong as the elders of the Heavenly Demon Cult. But seeing him now, he's much stronger than that, and he's not certain he could have defeated him in his past life. His father tells him that his gaze shows dissatisfaction, asking if he has something he needs to tell him. Wu immediately turns his head away, wondering if he was maybe staring too blatantly, but decides that he might as well go for it, and he locks his eyes back with his father's, saying that he was curious why the branch family head is here. Hosen asks if there is anywhere in the Nine Dragons branch family that he cannot go. Wu says he was concerned they might have dirtied his eyes with their inadequate duel. Every single person there starts to feel very surprised and tense about the ways he's addressing his father. Even Q-Jin tries to get him to stop it, and she looks really scared. Wonhee says it's no wonder they're acting like this because he's just an abandoned bastard who is talking back to the head of the Nine Dragons branch family. But from his residual memories and from seeing him with his own eyes, he can tell that his father is a true man of the Tang clan. As we see him grinning, he says indeed, he did not find the duel interesting whatsoever, and Wu wonders if it's really how a father should speak to his son. But Hosen then says still he heard he had a change in personality and is better than he expected. As he's heading down the steps, he looks at Yu Chong, saying that it appears as if another one of his children is nothing but a disappointment. Yu Chong immediately looks down to the floor, feeling nothing but shame. He then calls for Gon and the boys, telling them that their reactions were slow and they need to train themselves with more devotion. They all say yes sir, and he tells them to dismiss the Audi and lead the house members and deal with the aftermath. Wu asks Q-Jin why she looks so sad, and she says because they were still too weak to catch father's eye and gain his interest. She asks if he's okay, and he says that the branch family had always been like that. After ignoring his second child for so long, he suddenly gained interest after he showed potential. As for the third born, whom he had helped for so long, his interest immediately vanished. Q-Jin says she's sorry and she shouldn't have asked, and she should have known he isn't fond of father. He changes the conversation, asking if she's hungry, and then suggests they go grab a drink together that night at an inn. We see her drinking, saying that this is what life is about. He says that she drinks and eats like she has been starving for days, asking if they're not serving her meals in the Qingchang sect. She says they give her lots, but it's always grass and other yucky. And he says it must be one of those TOS temple things. She beats the table, saying at her age she should be eating meat and drinking alcohol, and this is why he shouldn't become a stupid monk. He says sure, and pours her another cup, and she tells him to keep it coming. He says, speaking of the Qingchang sect, he wonders what kind of person her eldest senior brother is. She starts to blush and asks him why he's bringing him up. And Y says that she mentioned him in quite a few letters. So obviously he's curious, as he mentions how much she keeps talking about him, and she gets embarrassed, telling him to stop it. He says that she mentioned he was coming to the clan head's visit as a guest from the Qingchang sect, and he should learn more about him and treat him adequately when they meet. But he says it in an evil tone. She readies herself, saying he's mastered the wicked tricks of the Tang clan and she will beat him for this. He says the fact that the eldest disciple Yale San is visiting is something to be careful of. There's a rumor that the Dark Sovereign's purpose for visiting is to find a new special martial unit like the Wild Wind Squad, and if that rumor is true, then countless sects around Sechin will come to monitor or prevent. That's also true for the Qingchang sect, which has had a long relationship with the Tang clan. And the fact that they're sending Q-Jin's eldest senior to visit means they do not trust her, but she probably doesn't realize that he then notices something in waves, and Q-Jin asks if his drinking friend arrived, and we see it's none other than Gon, who says that he should have gone back to the training grounds, and Q-Jin spits out her drink. Gon says he was impressed with her growth as he didn't expect to see her manifest sword energy. Q-Jin bows while thanking him, and uses sound transmission to ask Wei why he never told her that Uncle Gon was coming. He says that she never asked, and she calls him a brat, and quickly pulls out a seat for him. He then thanks her and says that they sure have ordered a lot more today, and he just hopes they didn't order in his name again. Wei asks if he can do that next time, and they bang glasses together cheering, as God asks if he banged his head too hard in the fight. Q-Jin is just surprised, asking him why he's being so friendly with Gon. He asks what she means, and she asks if he doesn't know what kind of person Gon is. They haven't finalized it yet, but he's basically host as a sworn brother. He's rescued Hozan from perilous danger during the bloody Qingchang battle, and the clan had personally gave him his warrior title. What a chat of a friend. Wai realizes this might be bad, and immediately calls out for Gon, calling him uncle, and Gon asks, "What's wrong?" Wei says he didn't know about his relationship with his father, and apologizes for the great discourtesy he has shown him, begging that he'll accept his sincere apologies. Q. Jin nods her head and tells him that was nicely done, and she's sure he'll forgive his transgressions. Gon looks absolutely disgusted, asking her what the hell he is doing, and if she taught him this. Wui starts laughing and asks Gon what were the reactions of the other Wind Hall members. Gon tells him to guess how many points they gave him. And Wui holds out his glass, saying it must have been full points. Gon pours him his drink, saying he's too damn arrogant, and Wei asks if he's wrong. But Gon says that nah, he's just pissed. He's right. Wei says he knew it because of the spar. He's earned the interest of the former squad members. The only issue left is Sanong might be scheming something before the Dark Sovereign's visit on cue. It jumps to Spidey, who wonders how much longer until they get to where they're going. He says he didn't expect them to get this far, because if he goes too far away, Wu might think he ran away and tried to kill him. The carriage finally comes to a stop, and Spidey wonders if they arrived. Finally, somebody escorts Sanong out of the carriage, and she says they came without informing the temple, so she wonders if the Templars are present. Spidey says if they're at a temple, this might be where the person who put the toxic sinier in Wu's medicine is. He starts to feel a very strong demonic dark energy, wondering who the hell she is collaborating with. As the door slowly opens to the gate, somebody exits thanking her for coming this far, calling her a follower. They say that the Master Templar informed them she was coming, and Sanyang says that their spiritual connection always surprises her. Spidey immediately recognizes that what she is talking to is not a living being but a June sheep. Spidey says that it must be one with its past life, and since it has the ability to make judgments, that makes it an advanced young she, and since he's using an advanced one that most Feeney practitioners find very tricky to create as a mere servant, this isn't the simple residence of a trivial sorcerer, although he's not sure if reporting everything he's seen thus far would be enough. Doing the bare minimum also wouldn't be enough. He needs to satisfy Wu to the point that he will listen to his plea. We hear an old voice saying, I pray, please bestow upon me more divine decrees, as he's hitting his staff into the ground. The little Jungi from earlier tells him that Sanong has arrived, and he says to let her in. Sanong greets the Master Templar, who says that he sees she's returned because something hasn't worked out, and that she possesses far too much greed, and God only takes care of believers who can consistently submit themselves wholeheartedly, as they dislike the people who only appear when they need something. She asks what they would think about somebody who makes offerings in large amounts, so large that other believers could not even fathom it. The Templar starts to laugh, saying, well, of course they would think it would be very cute, as we see his face for the first time, bro. Ugly, he asks if she likes the money as well, saying he knows he does. Spidey wonders if he's part of the mouse. Shan sect, saying they're much more sinister than it should be. She says if successful, she'll bring another chest full, and the Templar says very good, as she knows how to earn the favor of God. The heir then gets very serious, and he asks her what he can help her with, and she asks if he remembers what they discussed before, and he says that she wanted him to brainwash the illegitimate child, saying that's already in progress. She says that the situation has changed and she needs something faster. And Surefire, he thinks he knows what she wants now, and Sanyang says that she wanted to use him as a pawn. She could throw away after the Dark Sovereign's visit, but Kyujin's behavior and the movements of Wui's backers could blow up on her face, and she asks the Templar to turn him into an advanced Young Shay. He laughs, saying he must have really struck a nerve. Spidey can't believe what he's hearing, saying he needs to go notify Wui immediately, because if the Master Templar is capable of freely creating advanced Jangi, then Wui is for sure no match in his current state. As soon as he gets out, a whole lot of red eyes start glaring at him, and he recognizes that they are Beast Jangi, saying that if they can control these types as well, he now understands that it's the Black Bone Ghost Valley, the offshoot of the Emeshan SE that joined the Heavenly Demon cult. The Templar then tells S. Young it seems like she had a pest attached to her, and she asks if she was being followed. The Templar laughs, saying that person uses a very unique sorcery to control the ghost, and the backer of the illegitimate child might be much more annoying than originally anticipated. She sighs, saying that she will contribute another treasure chest, and he laughs, saying okay. She tells him to make sure he earns what he's been paid, and turns that lowly bastard into a Jun Shay and exposes the backer. He tells her there's no need to doubt him, and now he should first chase after the backer that followed her all the way here. Something quickly appears behind Sanong, as we see another Jungi asking his master what he needs. The Templar says he needs to chase after the escaped ghost and find the sorcerer behind it. The Jungi says yes sir, and immediately leaps out of the room, flying through the air, saying for even the Beast Jangi to be unable to capture it, it must be quite a nimble pest. He puts his fingers to his mouth and whistles, launching even more beast forward. Spidey wonders what's with the eerie presence he senses. AKA his Spidey senses are tingling, as we see him hauling absolute cheeks from all the creatures. As we see him in the jaws of one of their mouths, he just begs that Y can run away, and then he gets chomped on it, jumps back to the white pavilion, and W asks Q Jin if she's really not leaving. She says that she'll go home while she sobers up. And he sighs, saying that now that Yang has been humiliated, Song is going to go out of her way to harm him. He bets that Q Jin is conscious of that as well, and he tells her just not to be a bother. She tells him to continue with his training. Goatee says for being an aesthetic of the Qingchang sect, she sure is an upright child. Baldy agrees but wonders how Sanong, who's so wicked, and somebody like Hosen had a daughter so kind. Wee smacks them over the head, telling him to shut up, asking if they want to become pills already. Poor Dumpling caught astray. Wu then notices something and Baldy asks if there's something wrong. He says something feels different from when he had the duel earlier, and they ask what he is feeling. He says there was a bit of a disconnect between his actions and movements when using martial arts, as if the cogs weren't fully aligned, and he thought it was because he was still a beginner, though he can still feel that disconnect is definitely lesser. Now Goatee says that he was a famed instructor in the cult during his younger years, asking if he can inspect his body. Wee tells him to go for it. And we see Goatee starting to get a feel for what's going on, and he asks Wee if he knows the term cultivated energy. Wee asks if he means his inner energy, but Goatee tells him that it's a bit more specific than that. Wee tells him to explain it, and Goatee says that inner energy, even when going through the exact same training, builds up with different characteristics depending on one's identity, constitution, and even their own understanding. Wee says that what he's saying means that his heart and mind got contained in the inner energy. Goatee says that's correct, and that's why martial arts like the Great Absorption Technique, which sucks out somebody else's inner energy, is unable to provide a large increase, though he can't be certain, as Wu is a special case between the cultivated energy that built up in the original body over 17 years, and the energy that he has now cultivated, hold different characteristics which could be what is causing the disconnected sensation. Wei wonders what it means now that the disconnect is shrinking. Goatee says it likely means that his cultivated energy and the original W's cultivated energy are slowly harmonizing. Wu wonders if that means he started to accept his identity, and maybe that would mean he's starting to fuse with the original cultivated energy of the body, since he has no choice but to live inside of it. He thought that it was his, but it seems that subconsciously he must have been thinking that this body belonged to someone else. But through this duel, it seems like he's gone from thinking of using martial arts through this body to just thinking that he's using martial arts. The emotions he's experienced by personally meeting Q Jin, who he's only known through memories, seems to be slowly breaking down that subconscious barrier. Wu asks him how far he thinks he's to so far, and Goatee says around 40%. Y says that if he can continue to increase the fusion rate, and Goatee cuts him off, saying that if he does so, he will be able to more easily attain a higher level of martial progress. And Y says that's perfect. He then widens his stance, saying being one in body and mind is essential in sorcery as well. So the higher the fusion rate between the body and his soul gets, the more he will cover his mystic power from his previous life. Q Jin watches him train, saying that he's really changed a lot, and now he's full of confidence in focusing on martial arts, and she feels sorry that he's been forced to change, but he has now started to build up his own foundation, and it will only grow sturdier from now on. However, Song will not just wait patiently and let Wu's foundation settle immediately. She starts to sense something as the blue ghost face rot comes out, saying that something is here, and Kyujin says she knew it. Even Y starts to sense it. When the elders ask him if this is what they think it is, he says that's right, it's ghost fog. And because of the composition of the toxic Kabar, he knew they were a necromancy user, and they finally took the bait. Now he can't wait to see how big the fish actually is. We see the guy from earlier saying it's been a while since he's had a hunt, and if his master's prediction is correct, the one behind that bastard child uses a very unique form of necromancy. But that's the case. The tools they use must be just as unique. The traces on that spider were leading this way, so the caster must be inside. He laughs, saying he can't wait to start. He starts doing some Naruto hand signs, saying that the parasitic vulture and ghost fog are ready. The ghost fog will disrupt one's perception, and if he ties it with the bramble ghost fog formation, nobody outside of the fog will be able to know what is happening on the inside. As he makes his way through, he starts to look around, wondering where his prey is. He sees a purple thread going to Wui, and wonders why it's connected to his second target. He says he must have been left behind, saying that the caster activated the technique by controlling the brat, instead of directly using necromancy. We see Wui completely pretending that he's confused about what the fog is saying. He can't see anything. The Junie says, "The mastermind is even more cunning than he thought, but this brat is still his target. If he captures him, the mastermind is bound to reveal themselves. It's not like he can see what's in front of him or do anything thanks to the ghost fog, and if he stays still, he'll make him into an advanced Yongshe with all of his limbs intact." But then he realizes somebody else has entered as we see Kyujin slowly walking to him, and then her eyes glow for a split second as she's immediately in his face smiling. She grabs him by the throat and chases him away from Wui. Wui says this was as expected. Not only did they send an unorthodox warrior, but a parasitic vulture as well. We then see Spidey in his ghost form saying there's no doubt they are from the Blackbone Ghost Valley goatee, then says he looks like a Class 3, asking if things will go as planned. Wu says it's unlikely that A. Ching Chang Toist would lose to a Zhongyi on equal footing. But the question is, will Jin hold back, or will she vanquish him as a Toist right now? All they can do is trust her judgment. As she slams him straight into the floor, he immediately recognizes it as the Ching Chang sword key, saying that the only Ching Chang Toist in the family would be Kyujin, wondering why she is here. He quickly distances himself, calling out to her, telling her to wait a second and listen. But she asks why she would listen to a member of the unorthodox faction telling him to die, calling him filthy. He puts his hands up to block her attacks, and he tries to create even more distance and says that this matchup is terrible. As we see his hands shaking, he says even if he wants to fight properly, if he ends up hurting her, the deal with Sanong will be ruined, even if he accomplishes his mission. If that happens, his furious master will torture him with anything he can before he realizes he's spaced out. Kyujin says that he picked the wrong time to do that, as she uses one of the Ching Chang sword techniques, which we saw before, the sword of discharged lightning of extreme light. She starts cutting him up, making blood fly out all over, saying that he just has to die while laughing. But he realizes he's in a bad situation, and says if this is how it's going to be, then he just needs to accept it. And he tells her he was holding back, because she's the daughter of Sanong Q. Jin is surprised hearing her mother's name out of his mouth, and he continues saying that it's her fault for not listening, as he starts to take the bandages off of his arms, and aura starts to come straight out of the forearms, forming some kind of blade. His legs also start to beef the hell up. He's using a ghostly amplification technique, turning him into an actual mass monster. Kyujin is nervous, realizing that this is actually quite bad. The Jun swings his hand down, and she manages to block it. But of course it seems like quite a heavy blow. He tells her that if she had just backed down, it would have been easier for the both of them. And he's only doing this in order to accomplish what Sanyang wants. Jin tells herself to lock back in, saying she already knew what her mother was doing, and she will capture him, find the one behind this, and stop her mother from continuing down the wrong path. The Zhongyi starts to feel disgusted at her tossed aura, and says that she definitely is a stupid person for not taking the chance to back down, as he rears his fist back, punching forward, hitting the ground as she dodges away. He says it would have been better if she wasn't a Toist, and if the fight drags on like this, he'll be at risk of being discovered by the righteous Windhall, even with the Bramble Ghost Fog formation. Plus, that cursed caster could show up at any moment, and the longer it goes, obviously the worse it'll be. Even if the ghost fog clears up, he needs to use the parasitic vulture, as his target is still the bastard son. The vulture immediately gets some kind of telepathy from the guy, and it immediately starts to fly away. And Dumpling says it seems as if the parasitic vulture has stopped emitting ghost fog. Y says it looks like he was finally using the vulture and he almost fell asleep, waiting for this moment. Dumpling then says it might have been even better to let the girl take on the vulture while he fights the unorthodox warrior, as the vulture starts to descend, screeching directly towards Wui. Wui stares at it, asking why the hell it's screaming in the middle of the night, telling it to get on the ground now, as his eyes start to glow purple as he's using his mystic arts called the Evil Ghost Advent, aka. His magic eyes, the vulture feels a primordial fear and immediately dives past Wii directly into the floor, and Wii says that's not what he meant. The other ghost says it's a miracle that didn't break its neck, and it seems that its body is as sturdy as you'd expect from a parasitic vulture. Dumpling says they surely used rare materials and spent a long time making just one of these, and it just had to go up against Wu. Wui says they all seem pretty pleased with themselves, even though he's the one who did all the work, and he tells the bird to get up, and it immediately does. So he says he's going to give it two choices, asking if it'll fight the other young Evinci, or if it plans to fight Wei. The vulture looks terrified, and immediately leaps away, attacking the Yoongi from behind. It wonders why it's attacking him, and how he lost control of it. Then he realizes that must mean the caster is skilled enough to take control from him, and he didn't even sense them. Kyujin immediately jumps up behind him laughing, saying if he lets his guard down like that, she won't hesitate to strike him down. As we see her cleave through him, we see that it was actually his arm that she managed to cut off, and the dude says he needs to retreat immediately. Once his arm hits the floor, he wonders why she's not doing anything else, so he asks her what she's doing, saying she could have killed him with an attack just now, or if she's showing mercy. Because of Sanung, she starts to laugh, saying as if, and it's so that he can thoroughly repent for salvation, and she's going to shred him to bits. Very slowly, he tells her that she's insane, asking how this is the face of a toist. The parasitic vulture does a drive by scratching the dude's eyes. He screams. Looking at it, and Kyujin says that she doesn't know why the beast turned against him, but now is her chance to get rid of the remaining ghost fog, as she starts to use another ability called One Energy of Heaven and Earth. It's just her tossed energy and uses a technique called the Evil Expelling Torrent. The guy then realizes that the ghost fog and his ghostly amplification technique have both been dispelled, so he needs to quickly find a way to escape. He says there's still a shred of the ghost fog remaining, which is his last chance, as he starts to channel aura into his hand. He slams it down into the ground, causing a minor shock wave. Chin blocks, thinking it's an attack, but instead he immediately leaps backward, going to grab his arm. Kyujin and the parasitic vulture immediately chase after him, asking where he thinks he's going. The man senses something and decides to leave his arm behind as it starts to glow. Kyujin gets caught in the explosion, but she quickly regains her balance. We see the man cracking some kind of pill in his hand, and Kyujin leaps off the ground, dashing towards him, trying to stop him from doing whatever he is planning. As the blade gets closer to his face, we see it pierce some kind of fog. Instead of the man, as he's already gotten away, says that things really went exactly as what we planned back to the flashback before this all started. She tried telling him that it was a spell from the unorthodox faction, and he asked if she would mind assisting him. He started yapping to her, and we learned that he didn't want her to kill the young Wantis to begin with, as he needed to extract the information from it. They may be a branch family, but there's still a manor of the Tang clan, and if it was capable of sneaking in here and setting up a ghost fog, it can likely use some formation sorcery, so it will likely use a return crystal to escape through the Hellgate when in critical danger. And with his current skills, he has no way of beating the Youngshe here now that it's set up a formation spell. But if she can make the Youngshe escape outside of the formation spell, he can figure out who the puppeteer is that dared intrude upon the 9 Dragon Branch family. She says that if this really is about to happen, then it's probably an assassin hired by their mother. And he wonders what she'll do if she plans to side with her. Why sits up, saying if that were to happen, that just means that he's a loser that lost in the Battle of Wits. And that is just the natural order of things. She says that for Wui, who would continually face his hardships, the Tang clan is nothing but a den of trickery and deception. However, she'll make him see that what he knows is not the only identity of the Tang clan, for that she needs to work harder. The flashback ends with the derpy-ass vulture C at her, and she starts to go crazy, saying that she can get rid of it. Leave the bird alone, lady. We then see where the other man has jumped to as he's now regaining his footing, saying that he can't believe he failed his mission and had to flee. He can always reattach a new arm, but he's lost the parasitic vulture. And now the family is going to be on high alert, and his master will never tolerate this. He starts screaming, saying if only it wasn't for that damn toist. We then hear Wu saying that he should have gone further away, and he can't believe he stopped so close to the manor. The dude immediately freaks out because he didn't even sense his presence, but he recognizes Wu-Ai, wondering what he's doing here and how he followed him. He thinks he might have been instrued by the sorcerer backing him. Since they are capable enough to seize control of the parasitic vulture, they were likely able to figure out the location of the escape gate. Whatever the case is, this is a great opportunity, because if he can capture Woni, he can figure out the identity of the sorcerer, and even retrieve the parasitic vulture. But we see in the reflection of his eyes, it's not about to go as planned as Wai starts to release his ghost key. The man says that it must just be something that the sorcerer has lent him. He says the appearance is a bit hazy, but he wonders why the energy is so familiar. Wai says that he knows Seyang was desperate, but how could she join forces with the Blackbone Ghost Valley when she's from the Namun clan? The guy is surprised, asking how he knew that, and Wei asks him what he thinks as his ghost key starts to form around him. The dude immediately realizes what's going on and he says no way, as we see Wei slowly getting covered more and more by the aura until it forms a robe, which we learn is called the Evil Ghost Battle Robe. Wei says he must be something of a veteran if he recognizes this. And everyone who was at the Blackbone Ghost Valley 10 years ago remembers it. It was the mystic armor the junior demon lord Wu Wei wore when he intended to level an area. The man asks him how someone like him is in possession of this. And Wei asks him if the person in his memory was someone to answer such questions, and he has many things he wants to ask him. The dude says he'll never talk. And Wei says he may be saying that now, which is why they'll talk after he has been thoroughly pummeled. The Yungshe says that if he really is the junior lord, then he risks dying in one shot. Wei clenches his fist and starts to release an even more powerful aura. The Junie wonders if it's going to be dark arts or the Ghost King's power. Wei immediately closes the gap, rearing his fist back. The Junie is just confused at its martial arts and is too confused to react, so he gets hit straight in the face, and at low-key dents, his head he gets sent flying as blood starts to pour out of his nose and he lands and hits a tree sliding down against it. He manages to catch his footing, saying that was the wild wind dance. He wonders why he's using martial arts instead of dark arts and starts to smile, which turns to laughter. He says that he's not the junior lord as the junior lord. Can't use martial arts, he's a monster who could blow up an unorthodox warrior like him. With a finger as he keeps yapping, he says. He doesn't know how he could have seen the junior lord's skills to imitate them. We see little portals open up as purple beams shoot out of them. They are called magic imprisonment chains. The dude says that the monster made this equipment himself, and we says he can't believe he missed. He wonders why he called him a monster instead of a genius. The man then starts to wonder if maybe it really is the junior lord asking how he could still be alive and using martial arts. We says he can tell he's confused, wondering whether he's the man he knows or not, and asks him if he thinks he has the time to even debate this right now. The Zhongshe says he's right. If he drags this out too long, either the Toist girl will come back or someone else will. And that being said, he can't just run away as this bastard knows who they are, so he needs to shut him up. However, if he really is the junior lord, he doesn't know how that'll go. Wai Sai saying he can't believe he's still not moving, asking if they really promote soft guys like him to unorthodox warriors, saying, given how he goes around with a parasitic vulture on hand, it looks like he can't even do a single thing, right? The Junie starts to get angry. Wu Wei laughs, saying maybe he should just go back and he wanted to get some kind of information, but there's no way a guy like this would know anything. The Zhongi starts to get pissed, saying, even if he has to burn through his lifespan, he'll make him regret that. As he dashes forward, screaming while attacking at Wei, Wei asks if he's finally in the mood to fight as he lets him grab him by the face and they get sent flying. He says he was trying to buy time and distance himself from the village, as it would just cause him problems if the young. She got scared and ran, and he guesses it's time for him to try out the thing he didn't have a chance to do. When DK and his sister, they start to fly directly into a cliff, actually smashing into it, caving a section of it out. The Junie says that he was supposed to take the corpse with him, but he got too excited, and at least his mouth can rival the junior lord's, calling him a tier 1000 Yapper W. Then grabs onto his hand, saying, now he can relax when using the return crystal. He should be at least this far away. To rest, the Junie wonders why his attack didn't work at all, and Wui asks how he could carry his corpse back with an attack like that. When it was so half-assed, the June Sheep pulls his hand away from him, wondering if it really is the evil ghost battle, Roby saying that's not possible. He then uses his one arm and unleashes a barrage at Wei, who sits there tanking it. He wonders how his fist, which has been enhanced by overloaded demonic essence, isn't making even the slightest impact upon hitting him. Wu asks him if these are really meant to kill him. The Zhongi rear his fist back for an even bigger hit, punching forward, and it makes a great impact. But we see Wei caught it. He says he's done testing his defensive capability. Now it's time for him to test out his attack, as he imbues his fist with aura. He punches the dude straight in the stomach, sending him flying backwards out of the cliff, sending him flying backwards all the way out into the ground. The Junie says that strike confirms it, and this. Dude is in the lower level. His attacks definitely can't hurt him. If he waits for the evil ghost battle robe to run out, he can win. Wei asks what he's laughing at, and asks if it's because his attack feel weaker than he thought they would, or if he's thinking that he just has to hold out until the robe wears off. He says that since he chased after him knowing full well that he's a blackbone ghost Jungi, he wants the Jungi to think about if he really didn't prepare anything at all, or if he's just dumb because his brain is rotted like the rest of his body. The dude gets offended, saying he just keeps talking, while relying on the battle robe telling him to show what he's prepared then, and he starts to wildly swing at him, saying that he better do it before the effects of the robe wear off, and we see not a single attack has landed on Wei. He even tries to go for a kick only to hit an after image, as Wu has leapt up behind him using the shadow step W, then kicks him in the back of the neck. But the Jungai is not fazed, saying that his attacks have no impact. Wu already knows this, saying that it's not possible for him to penetrate his defense yet since he's an unorthodox warrior, but he still has a couple things he can try. He lands back on the ground saying it's a bit of a shame, but he should probably just finish this fight off. We see Wei preparing the same attack he blocked Kyujin's sword key with, but the Jungi doesn't seem fazed, asking if he still hasn't figured it out that his attacks have no effect on him, as he just laughs while the attacks hit him. Wei dashes past him after finishing his barrage, but the dude still says that just tickles, and unlike his ghost battle robe, he doesn't have a time limit. He can hit him all he wants, as he'll suffer his payback soon. Wu lands from his dash saying that he was worried he was going to evade and cause things to die out, but it seems as if he is foolishly taking all the blows he can, but it makes sense since he's a young Shay and his brain is rotten. He says that now he's just yapping since he's at a disadvantage, asking how long he's going to keep running his mouth, but then blood starts to fly out of his mouth and nose, and he says that these are the symptoms of poisoning, asking how poison can even affect him in the first place. Wu says that it's not a normal poison, and immediately the young Geveinth realizes it's a ghost poison. Wu thanks him for letting himself get hit, saying he packed it densely throughout his body, telling him to have as much fun as he wants. We see a bunch of ghosts fly out of his body, eating away from the inside. He does his best to pull them off, and they start to materialize, turning into straight nightmare fuel, completely eating away at his body, causing him to scream out very loudly until he drops to his knees, looking utterly defeated. Wu gazes down on him as if he was looking at a bug, and the young Shay asks him to just answer one question, wanting to know if he's the Junior Lord. Wu stares down at him for a second and then crouches down, saying that this isn't the end of him, as he holds out a chain, which is the magic imprisonment. The Jungi starts to shake, saying no way. Wei gets rid of his robe, telling the elders he's going to be heading out first and to make sure to educate the new recruit, so he obeys orders, as we see the elders now regaining their actual forms, saying that his wish is their command. What a cool scene. Wei walks away confidently, knowing that the boy's got his back. Yu says that was harder than he expected, and he guesses it's because he's not proficient enough to subconsciously use martial arts, so he's unable to use spells that require longer prep time once he gets more used to it, though he can start working on his spellcasting speed, and he guesses he just has a lot more homework from now on. He then senses something saying that somebody's staring at him, but he wonders if somebody's been watching this entire time, wondering who it is and where they are watching him from. And we see it's none other than his father, Hosen Wu Sai, saying that he gets that he's part of the Tang clan, but to not do a thing while watching it all with how far away he is. He likely couldn't see exactly what he was doing, but he should have been able to see that he was fighting an intruder, and he calls him disgusting. Q. Jin then calls out his name as she starts running over, and he says that she didn't have to come find him. Then he freezes for a second, as he sees her dragging the vulture by the neck, as she asks him if he's hurt. He says no, but wonders what she's doing, and she says that she thought maybe she'd learned something and she wanted to cut off its wings so it couldn't fly away. But its wings were tougher than she expected, and she couldn't cut through them, so instead she just beat the hell out of it, and he says he should make sure not to anger her in the future. He bows, saying unfortunately he got away and she worked hard to set it up for him, and he's sorry. Kyujin then says that she's sure they can figure out where the whereabouts of the other people are by beating up this young Shay. The vulture immediately hides, running to Wui, and starts to cry while seemingly begging him. Wui says sneaking in a beast jungi of this size won't be easy, and we see the vulture start to glow purple as it quickly shifts to a smaller form that looks nothing like a bird. What the hell is this thing? W is surprised that it just knows spells, and then realizes something but changes the conversation, saying he's going to keep him in the white pavilion for now, and he's sure that she's tired as well, so she should head back. She looks worried about something but says that since the intruders ran away, she'll head to her room and immediately turns around. But we see she has a whole different expression on her face. We then hear Wui asking somebody if their master is the neglectful white bone wraith. It's the dude from earlier who's bowing, saying that is correct. Wui says it's been a while since he's seen him, and the dude goes to ask him if he's ever met his master, but immediately says the dude's name instead. Wui says he knows him a little bit. He learned some dark arts from him in the past, though he ran out of things to learn after only a month, but on top of him, the fortunate Blue Bone Phantom, the awakened Crimson Spectre, and the immortal Green Devil are also here. Which means that 4 of the 12 dark ghosts have set up near their county and are scheming something. Wu says for all four of them to be nearby, there's only one reason to have any interest in this county at the moment. It's the visit of the Dark Sovereign, since he is one of the 10 Grand Masters under heaven, and with Moonhue's plan to establish a new special martial unit from their perspective of the cult, they can't just stand by and watch it grow. Normally, they would plan on either planting a spy within the martial unit or making the unit smaller than the clan's ideal plan. But if that was all they intended, it would not call for the presence of 4 elders, seeing as how they roped in. Sanong, their schemes are going to be far more grand and sinister, and the divergent organization that has seized control of the heavenly demon cult, aka the Society. They might be trying to increase the strength of the heavenly demon cult by pulling strings behind the scenes. Normally, it would have been a ploy that would have been reckless and stupid, but now it could become a valid move, and it would be a plan that they could have never even dreamed of carrying out before, which means they are planning to assassinate the Dark Sovereign. All of the elders call him foolish, saying even having the 12 dark ghosts here are no match for the Dark Sovereign, as even the sect masters of the 9 great demon sect couldn't do a thing to him, since he is one of the 10 Grand Masters under heaven. Wu asks the Zhongyi if he and the White Bone Wraith are the advanced team. The D Zhongyi says that he doesn't know the details, but he does know that reinforcements are coming in from the Tan Shen Mountains. Wu is surprised and finally gives the dude a nickname of Number 15 and asks him what he needs. Wei asks 15 if he knows anything about the society, and 15 says since he is a pretty lowly being, he doesn't know of which society he is speaking of. Wu says, that's all right, which means that the orthodox warriors of the Blackbone Ghost Valley are too low on the totem pole. That means he needs to capture the geyser instead, aka the White Bone Wraith, to obtain information. The problem is that if he tried capturing him at his current level, he'd be absolutely defeated by his Fortress of Spells. Wu says that he guesses this is everything he can learn from Number 15. Gan immediately enters the room asking Wu if he is safe, then says he was ordered by Hosen to summon him, asking why his yard is in such a bad state. Wu asks what he means, and 15 tells him that he thinks he's referring to the mess from the fight between him and Kyujin Wu, tells him to calm down as he'll explain it on the way, and this could be easily solved by borrowing the strength of Gon in the Righteous Wind Hall, but before that, he needs to take care of business, as we see his father waiting for him. Wei needs to figure out what he knows and how he'll act. Wu respectfully greets him, saying that he is graced by his presence, calling him the branch family head. His father wonders why he's still calling him the branch family head in private, saying he understood he did it at the duel, but he still wants to remain distant even in private. Wu immediately drops formality, saying he apologizes as it's been too long since they've seen each other in private. God asks him if he's insane, saying he went through the trouble of boasting to Hosen and yet he's dragging himself back down. Wu starts to smirk, saying it seems like he's been complimenting him and it's going to make him blush, but Gon tells him that now is not the time to joke. Wu tells him to watch. He asks his father if he's intending to reward him for defeating the intruder, but he knows if he intended to reward him for defeating the intruder, he would have done it in a public setting, as what Hosen wants to check isn't something like a father-son bond. Rather, he wants to know how much Wu knows. Hosen says he seems to know exactly why he called him, and Wu says it seems he's already confirmed the identity of the intruder, along with their connections to the Grand Matriarch. Wu says it's only natural as it is related to the clan head's visit, which means he must know about their plans to assassinate the Dark Sovereign Hosen. Says the fact that he isn't surprised must mean that he also has figured it out, and he heard that he has recently turned a new leaf. But this goes far beyond that. His inner energy, foresight, strategy, and everything else is not something he could obtain in a year or even 2, and he must have been hiding within the deepest burrow he possibly could have, training an absolute secret, and he can't believe he's fooled even him for so long, and his wickedness is truly worthy of the Tang clan name Wu Bos, saying it may sound like an insult but it is actually high praise. Within the Tang clan, Hosen tells him not to take it any further than this. Wu asks what he means, and Hosen says no matter what sort of war he and Sanong wage against each other in the manner, he will not interfere, but he needs to not mess with the people backing Sanong Wu. Says he's okay with his son and wife having a messy fight over household disputes, yet he wants to leave the cult and a group of outsiders alone, and he wonders what the hell he's planning, calling him a wicked snake. W says okay though, and whatever his reason is, he cannot go after the White Bone for now. And Hosen says that since his business is over, he's going to excuse himself. Wei says that before he leaves, surely he should be rewarded for defeating the intruder. Hosen says judging by how he stopped him, he must want something specific that he cannot obtain himself, telling him to ask for it. And Wei says He would like to train within the Twisted Forests, which we learn is a special environment full of poisonous bugs and bizarre beasts, and if he goes there, he can quickly recover the mystic powers of his past life. Hosen thinks about it, but tells him that only the clan head has the authority over that place, and he can make the request when he sees him, but he cannot make any promises. Wee says that it seems like the plan is a no-go. His father then says he can make up for that. As he reaches into his robe, he pulls out a butterfly, telling Wui that he can take this with him as it sits on his index finger. Gon is surprised by it, and Hosen tells him to be quiet. Wu wonders what it could be, and why Gon is so flustered by it. It doesn't look like anything more than a decoration. But maybe there's more to it. Hosen asks if it's not to his liking, but Wai says it is. He can't believe his father asked him that yet. He spreads his energy around so much that he can't approach. He's basically telling him to use some other means to take it. Wei tells 15 to get on it, and he immediately starts to fly in the butterfly decoration, then starts to move, which Hosen notices as it lifts up off of his hand, floating through the air straight back to Wei. We see Hosen even has a slight smirk on his face, and he says, now it is his. He tells Gon. They should get going. But Gon is actually freaking out internally. He quickly runs over to Hosen. Wei wonders what this is. Goatee says that from the looks of it, it might be a high-quality ornament, and Dumpling says it might be some kind of assassination weapon. Wu squeezes them poor Baldy caught astray and asks if he ever wanted their opinion, saying that they need to follow them. They immediately fly off saying, my bad, we hear Gon, asking Hosen if that was really okay. Saying that the blood butterfly is extremely precious to him. Hosen says that it is, but the Wild Wind Squad has disbanded, and it has been 20 years since the Nine Dragons branch family was established. Above all, Wu said he wanted to continue the Wild Wind. Gon says that now he understands why he handed it over to him, as he too must have had regrets for not being able to fulfill the hopes of the Wild Wind. Squad Gan says the other two children have seen it, but Q Jin and Yuch Chong had no interest. However, Wei took the blood butterfly from him, even though he's not sure how he did it. He laughs, saying he supposes that he could say he took it with a wild wind. This is why he thinks that W could be the one to discover the secret of the blood butterfly back to Wu Wai, saying he didn't even think about using the wild wind in the first place. And he asks if they ever mentioned what it actually was. They say no, but they do understand it's a precious item. We hear 15 from inside the butterfly saying every time it moves, it consumes an incredible amount of spiritual power. Considering the large amount it consumes, it looks to be some kind of magic tool. Wai wonders what exactly its use could be and tells 15 to get out of there so he can confirm it. He starts to pour his own aura into it, saying that since it belongs to the Tang clan, who don't special eye in spiritual power, he wonders how much it could possibly consume, as we see it starting to absorb his power. But then it just stops, leaving everybody confused. But Wu starts to get pissed, asking why it's such a pain to charge. As he starts to release even more aura, pouring literally everything he is into it, nothing happens, and they all sit there blankly again. He starts to scream, saying he'll just continue doing it until he can't. We see him in bed saying that he's been so pissed off about that damn butterfly that he wasn't able to sleep at all if he can't figure out what it is. So he'll just leave it alone for now, as if the white bone wraith figures out about yesterday's fail to attack. He will try something new, but due to Hosen warning, it's difficult for him to act rashly, and he wonders if there's any way he can stop White Bond's plan without drawing the attention of Hosen. It's not like the answer will fall from the skies or anything, so he should just take his time. But of course, that's exactly what happens. As that little bird guy comes back, he almost forgot about him, and he actually did fall from the sky. He looks down at him curiously, saying that the parasitic vulture is a powerful beast, Jangi, but it's not strong enough to go up against many unorthodox warriors, so he needs to make it even stronger so he can use it. As he starts to make his own hand bleed, he says his blood will act as a medium and produce a special refinement item loaded with information about the Ghost King using his Reaper's Sight, otherwise known as the Ghost King's blood. All of the other Ghost Boys are surprised to see that, saying they can't believe they are envious of the East. As their forms start to break, Goatee yells at them, saying they need to lock back in since it was loaded with information about the Ghost King. It is an exceptional elixir for those associated with ghosts. Wu asks the little bird if he wants it. It of course does, and he asks him why he should give it to him. As it hasn't given him anything yet, if he tells him where the black-boned ghost, Beast Young Shay farm is, he'll give it to him, but wonders if he'll even give it to him. Birdie immediately starts headbanging, and Wee says that's good enough, give him the treat, bro. Immediately transforms from his cute self to the ugly bird form. He starts screeching while absorbing the power, and we see his feathers being grown anew as his facial features start to change too. All of the Ghost Brothers notice this as the bird is transformed from a vulture to a whole different creature. They say, according to the rumors, this wicked beast is the lucky bird that serves as the drum of war announcing the advance of the demonic fiends, called the Jaw Wui. Asks Birdie how it feels to be born again, saying, "It looks like this body is more useful than a spider's." We see a ghostly figure looking at his hand, and it's none other than Spidey, who's surprised by what's going on. Goatee so happy that Spidey wasn't killed. We learned Spidey's name is actually Juan. Juan asks, "We, why him?" And we says that he has 3 reasons. First, as a reward for his loyalty. The moment that those bastards who were running away from him died, they were cursing him out. But he was different. The second reason is because he expected him to ensure the safety of his daughter. Juan's surprised by that, and we asks how he's supposed to guarantee the safety of his daughter when he doesn't know what she looks like, instead of making him find time to spare. He should go find her himself with his own hands. Juan's completely taken aback, and Wui says that the third reason is because he'll understand a ghost's words more easily than a bird's. Juan wishes he left that part out. He says that he thought he had been freed of his restraints, and it seems like he cannot truly be free from the Junior Lord. He says that after losing his wife, he had but one goal, which was his daughter. The moment that Hijin kidnapped her was the moment his life crumbled in the end. Even though he betrayed both the cult lord and Wui, he wasn't able to protect his daughter, but now that opportunity has returned to him, we finally learn. His title is the Resentful Demon. He says he pledges loyalty to him and that he will follow him until the end of time, all due to the second chance that Wu-Ai has given him. What an absolute Chad Wu asks him if the vulture's memories remain. Since if they do, he will know where the farm is. Juan says he will immediately fly there and tear those guys apart with his newly attained beak. And talents, Wu tells the resentful demon to head out and destroy the farms and notify those traitors of the divine cults. Advance, Juan says, as you command, and immediately flies out of the house. Wu says once he begins to destroy the farms, Whitebone won't have time to pay him any mind, and he can buy time this way. Man's Juan, we see a carriage pulling back up to the estate, as it's none other than Sanong saying traveling through the night sure is tiring. She then sees a report from Muong, which is the budget Hang Sam, and she says that since the corner is folded, it means it's urgent. She reads that Yuch Chong sparred against the bastard, and that Wu actually managed to win. He even fought off against Q Jin, and it was a draw, and that it all happened within the presence of Hosen. She wonders just how this all happened, but before she can get too lost in thought, Chin screams out her name asking where she has been. Sanong panics and quickly changes the conversation, asking what she's doing here so early, saying that she just had some urgent matters outside Q. Jin wonders if she can't discuss what she was doing out there with her, but tells her anyway that a young Shay trespassed into the Nine Dragons branch family and attacked Y last night. Sanong feigns ignorance, asking how such a terrible thing could happen. She then says that the one she saw yesterday must have dealt with the bastard, and it's unfortunate, but at least the bastard is now gone. However, Q Jin then tells her that she fought against it, which catches S Young completely off guard. She asks why she would fight it in the first place, and if she's hurt anywhere. Q Jin says she's fine, and that the intruder brought her up, and hesitated to face her. Sanong starts to feel stressed, asking how they could cause such a mess, and says that she does everything for her, but it's not for her sake, and the bastard is nothing but a hindrance in their lives. John asks if she really hates Y that much, so much that she'd hire at Jiang of Fienth when her own daughter trains in the Kwang Chang sect. Sanong starts to feel scared, but Q Jin turns around saying that if she has no intentions to stop walking down the wrong path, then her daughter will be the one stopping her. Song's voice starts to break as she calls out to her, and she starts to have a complete mental breakdown, asking why Q Jin doesn't understand that this is all for her. She falls to her knees, letting out a blood-curdling scream, saying it's all that bastard's fault, and she should have crushed him a long time ago. She says she'll go straight back to the temple immediately, as this is the only path for Q Jin's sake back to the boys out on the town. We see Gon telling Wei that he sure has guts, asking if he really has to go outside today, even after getting attacked last night. Wei says if he's going to keep complaining, he should go back to the estate. Gon says he cannot, as he must follow the family head's orders. Wei tells him to stop complaining, and they get to where they're going, which is none other than a place called the Weben Forge. Wei says he must be quite confident in himself, naming the forge after the god of TOS skills and craftsmanship, aka the first sacred master craftsman. Wu walks inside with Gan, and they ask if the master is here. One of the workers recognizes Gan, saying that the master is in the back. The master then comes out asking if the wild horse is here, and Gon says he's glad to see him. He introduces Wei to him as the blacksmith's owner named Tang Chuk Yong. Wei tells him it's an honor to meet him and goes to say who he is, but Chucky asks if he's the stubborn blockhead second son. W is a bit taken aback but says yes, and he heard he's known Hosen since the Wild Wind Squad era, but to call him a blockhead is a bit rash. Chuck Young then tells Gon that he's sure he didn't bring him all the way here, just to introduce him. Gon laughs, saying it's just as Wu says there's something he wishes to be made. We see Chuck Young has an arm made of metal, and he says W must have not been satisfied with what the Nine Dragons branch family had, and came here. Instead, he says he'll make it for him if he can just leave the blueprint here and go back home. Wu looks over, saying he sure does have a lot of commissions. He's not surprised, as plenty of the Tang clan members asked to get their weapons inspected too. Prepare for the Dark Sovereign's visit, and he bets that he would have been turned away at the door if Gon wasn't with him. He tells him that his blueprint is quite complex, so he may need his presence to explain it to him. Chuck Young asks if he thinks it's his first time making something for the clan members calling him a brat, since no matter how boldly he's drawn it, he can craft any assassination weapon to perfection. Wei says that he's not actually commissioning an assassination weapon, but rather just a sword. Chucky goes to ask him if he's going to become a TOS like his sister, but Gon immediately starts screaming out sword and starts shaking the absolute piss out of Woni, asking if they came all this way to commission a stupid sword and not an assassination weapon, and demands to know the reason. Wu dies the end. He tells Gon that he asked him to introduce him to a skilled craftsman, and he never said anything about commissioning an assassination weapon. Gan says that it's true, and he starts to cry. Wu says now he feels sorry for him. Chucky says that the wild horse must have high expectations of him. He tells him to come on in the back as he wants to see his blueprint up close. Wu-Ai lays it down on the table, saying he wants to remodel this black sword into this new design. Chucky's surprised, and Gon asks what kind of sword it is. When Gon takes a look, all he sees is that it's a steel folding fan, but Chucky tells him it's actually a sword. Wu says that he's much more skilled than he expected to find it immediately, and Chucky Young says that using wires is quite interesting and deceptive. To be honest, Wu says he's grateful that he finds it so interesting, and Chu Yong says he's not here for the flattery, telling him to come over and explain this outrageous sword to him as they start doing it. Gon watches from the other side of the table, as do the Ghost Boys, saying they never knew that Wei was so knowledgeable about such devices, as they can't even follow the conversation. Goatee wonders why a sword would be made in the shape of a fan. Baldy says that they're even going to put gunpowder into it, and he wonders if any of them have seen a sword like this, saying it might be a secret weapon of the Tang clan. They start to float around Gon, who's also completely lost about the conversation, but he's pretending he understands the best character in the series. Chuck Young says this is quite an egregious sword, and Wei laughs, saying there's just too many things he wishes to do with it. Chucky says that it appears he's going to have to do this one personally. Gon is surprised by this, and Chucky says that this device, the sly snake of a boy wants to build, isn't something his disciples can even handle. Wei says now's the time, and he immediately goes into the most formal bow you've ever seen, saying that it's a true honor to be able to showcase a sword made by a master craftsman like him. During the clan head's visit, Chucky says there's still 20 days until he comes, and Wei asks if he's not going to be able to meet the deadline. Chucky tries to tell him that his schedule is busy, and Wei says that he sees that it must just be impossible for him to complete, and he's sorry. Starting to bait him, Chuck Young completely falls for it, saying that he is Lu, been incarnate, and 15 days is more than enough for him to make this sword. Wei laughs, saying that's why they call him Sir Lu and Gon, and the ghosts all understand that another one has fallen to his petty tricks outside. Wei says that he's glad that Chucky is more talented than he expected, and that Juan must be destroying the beast farm right now, and there's only one thing left. He then hears Q Jin calling out to him, and he asks her what's wrong. As she looks a little down, she says there's something she must ask him. He says that he can sense the bloodthirst of the blue ghost face rot, and that she is extremely distressed enough that she can't control the teachings of the one energy of heaven and earth, and he can already tell what this is. Kyujin says, this may be a weird question, but wants to know his opinion on the past specifically. She wants to know whether he bears any grudges or emotions. Similar to that, Wei asks if she's trying to grasp the wind, which confuses her, and he says they can temporarily contain it, but cannot grab a permanent of it, because once it stops moving, it is no longer the wind. He asks her what's so important about the past, is there are so many things he has to do and wants to do right now. He says the future matters so much more than the past. To him turns out the metaphor was well received, and she starts to smile, saying she understands. And thanks to him, she's made up her mind entirely. She says that now there's something she has to do, so she won't be around for a while. She walks past him and leaps. Off, leaving him there, the ghosts say they can't believe she would get so enraged, and Wu lets out a sigh, telling them to stop yapping and go keep an eye on her. But he only needs 2 of them to do it. He's sure that Kyujin had a big argument with Sanong, and that's the only reason she could be like this. Sunyoung won't remain still if they're having such a heated argument with their daughter. In that case, it's time for him to prepare for some unwelcome guests back at Hosen Quarter. The assistant is telling him that Wu is requesting an audience we see Gon. They're surprised, and Hosen tells them to let him come in. Once inside, Gon starts asking him what he's doing here, using sound telepathy, and Wu says he wants to pay respects to his father as a son. Gon tells him if he's only here to yap, he should just leave. Wu says he's still a young master, so that's quite a bit harsh of an attitude, and Gon laughs, asking how about he does something to truly deserve his honor. Hosen then gets to the point, asking what he's here for. Wu says he's here to discuss the matter. He spoke of the other night and he wants to make a trade. Hosen thinks about it and calls out to Gon. Gan says, as he commands, then immediately vanishes, as do other people in the rafters, and Wu wonders how many people there are to begin with. Hosen says that by involving himself in this matter again, a problem may arise in the progress of the Tang clan's plans, so he will need a good reason to persuade him. Wu says he felt it on the practice grounds, but this is not the energy a mere branch head should have. He also just mentioned the Tang clan's plans, so they must be planning something average. Sherlock Holmes moment, Owen says, if he wants to make a trade, they must give and receive something of equal value, asking what he can give him. Wu says he doesn't have anything he can give right now, but he promises that he will. Hosen wonders what he means, and Wu says he will protect his big sister. Kyujin. Surely his father knows what kind of people Sanong has formed ties with. Hosen silent for a second, and then uses sound telepathy, telling him to speak freely. Wu says this must mean there are still people hiding, and he says that if their relationship between Sanong and the demonic cult is exposed, Kyujin and Yuchchong won't be able to escape the aftermath, as they will be labeled lackey of the demonic cult, and surely Hosen himself knows that that's how it will go, and how those people have been treated, so far as they won't ever be able to step foot anywhere around here again. Hosen says that he's the one who has led the Wild Wind Squad at the vanguard to stop the demonic leader, so who would be able to label his children as demonic cult lackeys? Wu says of course they would behave normally in front of him, however the world doesn't overlook fault so easily as that. Therefore he will ensure that such a label does not get put on. Chin Hosen says, setting aside how he would even carry out such a promise, what is it that he wants in the first place? Wu says that since his involvement in this matter would be by no means small, he wants to take an active role in his plan. Hosen asks if he believes himself capable enough to be added to the plans. Wu says he will prove it. Wu says the words white bone wraith, and that he will bring the head of one of the demonic leaders here himself back to the geyser. We see him praying his songs back again, asking how he handled her matter so carelessly, even though she's given him so much money. He calls out to her in a calm tone, and she asks if he understands that her daughter said she would take care of her. He then yells out her name, which startles her a little bit, and he says he also feels that his judgment was poor, seeing how it turned out like this. And he also lost a disciple, so he will not stand oddly by anymore. She can be at ease as he will head out himself. Then the small young, she from before, comes in screaming his name, and he asks what she wants, and she tells him it's an emergency. The white bone wraith sigh, telling Sanong to please take a seat and wait, as it can't be helped. She says she's not happy about being bullied, but his skills are the real deal, and since he said he would head out himself, then the bastard should be finished off this time. She then hears him screaming as he was just informed about his beast farm being attacked, and even though his farm was operating completely within secret for decades, a single bird with the same spiritual base as the parasitic vulture he made came back to his own farm and single-handedly wiped out every single beast he had raised thus far. Sanong asks what in the world happened that he's so worked up, and he calls her a moir. While reaching for her throat as he starts choking her, he slams her straight to the ground, saying that she dare trick him, and there is a high-ranking sorcerer with enough authority to take a vulture he made and evolve it. She really expects him to believe that they sided with a lowly bastard within the Tang family, saying that is completely absurd. She must have conspired with the sorcerer to stab him in the back. She says that she has no idea what he's talking about, and he starts to release a deathly aura, asking if she's genuine or just pretending, asking if she thinks so little of him, even though he's a member of the Blackbone Ghost. That's the first time she's hearing of this, since she can't believe that he's a part of the demonic cult, as she thought he was just some quack the White Bone Wraith can tell, just by how surprised her face is that she doesn't actually know anything, and that the Numgung family must have intended to use her and throw her away. He lets go of her and says that he had a brief misunderstanding, and he can't believe she really didn't know. She then starts to understand that this means she formed ties with a demonic leader, and she was introduced to this by the orders from her own family, which means that the Namgung clan has formed ties with the demonic leaders. He then asks her if her second child is home, saying now that he thinks about it, even his name is similar to a piece of gizmi that he knows, and even without her request, he is now a reason to tear apart both her son and the sorcerer supporting him, asking if she will help him. It then jumps to her saying that she has made a mistake, as we see she's talking to Wui, asking if he would like anything as an apology, as she'll give him whatever he wants. He seems really smug, saying that this is so sudden, and he can't believe that she's apologizing. She says she doesn't want to do this either. But it's part of the demonic leader's order, as he told her that they need to make sure that they drop their guard, so she should go get some kind of favor with her bastard child. And she asks why she would do such a thing, and he says that he guesses it can be helped, and he'll have to convert her into an advanced Jungai and make her do what he wants. She tells him to wait, saying she'll do it, and she says that she needs to do whatever she can to get on Wui's good side and catch his backer, and while it's humiliating, she still wants to live. He says that she sure is acting rather fearlessly, and then uses sound telepathy, saying that he supposes she's afraid that the branch family head will find out that she has formed ties with the demonic cult, and she sweats nervously, asking how he knew, and she can tell he's not just saying things either. As his eyes are full of certainty, she starts to shiver in fear, saying that she only just now found out they are demonic cult members, so how in the world did he know? Wai then starts to completely overwhelm her, saying that she seems to be very flustered. He starts to walk towards her, and she says that she thought that the backer he's been with for the past few months was the one controlling him. But those eyes of his are not the eyes of someone who would be controlled by anybody. And while she doesn't know whether or not his backer offered him aid, the one running the show, the entire time has been none other than Wui. However, if he still has only a shallow understanding of everything, she can try to play it off, so she tells him she has no idea what he's saying. And he says that this means she would have no problem with him telling the branch family head. He starts to use sound telepathy again, saying if he starts with the righteous wind, Hall's investigation, the information about the strange shrine she visited often will come out, and all the items in storage related to her family's clan will come to light. He says that that sounds fun, as who knows what the Namgung clan would say about all of this. She realizes that they would completely exile her, as they would say didn't know she had formed ties with the demonic cult, and she would be the only one taking the fall. And it is completely feasible that the Namgung clan would do that to her. Her voice starts to shake, and she says that she is still the matriarch here, so there's no way she can be disposed of so easily. We laugh, saying, even if she is the grand matriarch, it seems she can't be honest with herself, and she asks him what exactly he wants. He then starts to grin ear to ear, saying there's quite a lot of information that he would want from her. We then learn that over the course of a week, Weak Song showered him with all sorts of treasures, such as a heavenly silk robe, some gauntlets, some boots, and other gar. To purchase these rare items in such a short time, Sanong had no time to scheme, and as a result, he is now dripped out from head to toe. He says that the Namgung clan is really rich, and even after extorting so much, they still have a lot left. The Ghost Boys say that it must be pretty nice to be covered head to toe in such rare items, and that she must be close to bankruptcy. They say she's a fool for picking up fight with the Junior Lord, and we says they shouldn't be the ones to talk, as they did the same thing, but these items will definitely help a lot. But this is the most important thing he's got, as he pulls out a green orb, and they can immediately tell it has a lot of poison energy, asking what it is. He says it's a medicine he created by mixing some wilting fungus and toxic flame herb with white life oil. They say it looks like actual poison, asking if he's attempting to level his Venom Dragon essence art to 6-star. Y smiles, saying that right, as he's going to open up his middle, Danon, and rise to the peak stage as he heads outside. He says that the wilting fungus is often used as an ingredient in elixir, but incorrect usage can make the toxic fungus grow and kill you from the inside out to enhance that toxic growth. He combined it with a toxic flame herb and white life oil, making this pill's properties incredibly poisonous for someone who practices the Venom Dragon art. There is no better elixir. The ghosts say they understand his intentions, but it might be too poisonous even for him, asking if he's sure he can handle it. He sigh, saying that's why he also procured this, which is the divine azurite medicine, an elixir said to boost one's inner energy, which was made by the divine doctor of life and death. He swallows it, saying he'll first use this to level up his inner energy, and now that he has pure energy flowing through his mind, it is time for him to use the next thing, which is the wilting fungus thing he made. As the elder said, the poison would normally be impossible to digest. With his venom dragon art being at the level it is, he will surely experience intense, insufferable pain, unlike anything he has ever felt before. As we see it swirling around his lower D, and as he is slowly starting to absorb it, he screams out in pain while making a strained face. The poison key starts to erupt from his body, sending the ghost flying backwards, and they can't believe it's exuding so much, asking if he's okay. Says that the fungus poison is exploding through his whole body and he needs to take it and convert it into energy for his venom dragon art, as we see it all coaling into his lower core until it's condensed into one ball. He says now he has to use this energy and bring it straight up to his upper Danon, which is his heart. An orb starts to form there, as the aura immediately shifts to a purplish hue, different from the green one we saw before, showing that he succeeded. He sigh out of relief, saying he actually did it, as he has now achieved the 6-star venom dragon art. All of the ghost boys start congratulating him for reaching a new stage, saying that his growth is unparalleled. Wu says though still small, he can feel the essence has taken hold in his middle Danon, and he endured the 5 dragons. Crossings reaching the peak stage, we then see Gon leaning over the wall, saying he heard a loud sound and came running worried. But turns out that wasn't the case, and he asks why. What he did this time. Wu says he ate an elixir that his father gave him. Gon says he doesn't know which elixir that was, but he bets that he definitely ripped her off. And whatever the case, he's sure that he's itching to find out how much stronger he's grown. Wu immediately starts releasing his aura, while holding on to his staff, saying he truly has a good martial instructor. And he leaps forward, saying he won't refuse the offer and he'll go all out. As he readies his weapon, Gon says that it's crazy. He can already imbue his weapon with ki, and they trade blow for blow right in the middle of the arena. Gon says that Strike had quite some power behind it, asking if he can handle this. As he thrusts his staff forward, Wu says that Gon's movements used to be impossible for him to follow, but now he can see them clearly, and on top of that, he can move his body more freely, as well as we see him advancing through Gon's barrage, saying this is the clear difference between stages, and he can now share the same sight as his instructor, and by using his weapon with even more ki. It means that he can take every one of his techniques to the next level. Gon immediately recognizes that he's using the 12 fierce tiger steps with the spear, and does his best to block the attacks as it's Wu's turn to release an onslaught. Gon do manage to block it, but it causes him to have to create some distance, but he manages to catch his footing, saying that he guesses he can't have acid any longer, and Wu says he already told him he was going to work him to the bone sometime later after their sparring. God asks if he's heard the rumors that's been circulating, and Wu asks what he means. He says that it's the rumor that he and Sanong have made peace, and they're even saying nonsense like he's been given up on becoming the heir, so he has been blessed by Sanong. He asks what's wrong with that saying. Maybe he does plan on giving up on it for the harmony of the family. God asks if he even knows what that word means, saying that the rumor from all of the gifts she is giving him, but he knows that no such thing could happen between them. Wu starts to use sound telepathy, saying he can't say that he's wrong, but he needs Song to act that way. So it's easier for him to go after the Whitebone Wraith. God asks who that is, and then recognizes it, asking him if he means the neglectful Whitebone Wraith. One of the demonic leaders of Blackbone Ghost Valley, Wu asks if he didn't hear from Hosen, and Gon goes to tell him. But Wu says he must have dozed off in the meeting. Gon says that now understands that Wu must have figured out that she's connected to them. Wu compliments him, saying, even though he acts like a bum most of the time, he becomes serious. As soon as the cult is mentioned, God asks how he plans on fighting them when they fortify their bases with spells, and Wu asks if he means the mystic ghost formation. God says that means he's aware, and within that formation, Advanced JS has become even more powerful, and to tell him the truth, even if he went all out, he's not confident he could defeat a demonic leader inside of that form. Wu says he knows, and if they fight them head-on, there will be immense losses according to the information spilled by number 15. The temple forces are composed of 4 unorthodox warriors, and a spirit-class warrior created by Whitebone, and Whitebone is said to have achieved a higher stage not long after his death, as the society likely bestowed him with power. Gone then asks what his plan is, saying, surely he has won. Wu says of course as the final piece is about to fall into his hands, so he just has to be a chill guy. And wait, that night we see Sanong begging for him to save her on her knees, and he says that since she's here in the middle of the night, a bystander might assume that he's the one trying to kill her, and he can see that she's having a hard time, thanks to both the temple and the Newman clan. She says that's right, and he knows the situation she's in. As we see, she looks completely exhausted and drained. She tells him that the demonic leader is threatening to turn her into an advanced Junie if she doesn't bring him clues about the sorcerer backing him. At this rate, it is going to be bad for her, and Wu says that it's definitely not going to be a pleasant death. She says she'll do whatever he wants no matter what it is. Why? Then asks her if she will give up the heir seat that she has been putting so much preparation into. And we see her obviously taking a bit of a blow from this, but she tightens the grip on her clothing saying of course, and that she will convince both of her children to give up on succession, and she'll even seclude herself and never appear in front of him again, begging that he save her. He says fine, but she needs to make sure she listens to him. She says she'll do anything so long as she can be rid of the demonic leader Why. Then smiles saying this is what he wanted, and that there is something else he needs her to prepare for the final piece is up to Wu as he needs to pull a Luigi Mangione on Whitebone. It then jumps back to Chuck Yong's workshop, and he says that he's in quite a bit of trouble now. He got distracted by the schematics, but it'll take half a month to take care of this black sword that the kid has brought, since it is a magic tool containing ghost key made from black steel. It's a kind of rare find, and he can't believe he's going to use it as material while he may be a child. He's definitely a total snake as he pulled AF1 on him. The difficulty of the schematics requires one to work day and night for a fortnight, not the game, and his disciples are nowhere near skilled enough to help. He doesn't have two bodies, so he has no choice but to tell him that he's going to be late. We then hear another man saying that he's surprised to see him backing out of something, and when Chucky turns around, he's surprised asking him why the hell he's here. The man laughs, asking why he's so scared, saying it's been so long since they've seen each other and that he's hurting his big brother's feelings, and we are finally introduced to Moonhook in the flesh. The Dark Sovereign did not know. These two old dudes were brothers, Chuck Yong says. That's because he should be at the Nine Dragons branch family asking why he's here without his guards. Moonhook gives him the thumbs up saying that he snuck out. Chu Yong says that he's causing trouble for Yuan again. But Moonhook says that it's quite an interesting toy, asking who requested it. Chu Yong says that it's the son of that emotionless statue. Hosen M. Huck says that he heard he was called the Shadow Genius. But for a child of Hosen to request something like this when they're so young is pretty crazy. Chuck Yong says no bro, second child not third. Mo Huck double checks that. He means Wui, saying that he heard that he was weak and talentless. Chuck Yong says that he was surprised when he saw it himself, but he's actually a total snake. He wants to use sword techniques and fan techniques with a single weapon to confuse his enemies, buying the distance he needs to throw assassination tools the entire time. Moonhook seems happy, saying that's a toy befitting the Tang name. Chuck Yong says, if that was all, it wouldn't be so difficult. But there's two other parts. He shows him the material that he's trying to make it with. Of course, we already know what it is by this point, but he also mentions how he learned sorcery to master Cursed Poison Moon. Huck picks up the blade, saying that means he wants to apply cursed poison to his sword, and throwing weapons, asking what the final hurdle is. Chuck Yong then tells him that he's the dumbass's disciple, and he asks if he's talking about Gon. Chucky says, yeah, but it gets worse as he actually learned the Wild Wind Dance from him as well. Moonhook seems genuinely surprised while Chucky continues saying that he wants this singular weapon to not only contain multiple forms, but also to be capable of wielding wild wind and curses, noticing if he now understands how greedy this kid is. Moonhook begins to smirk, saying that he was complaining about not having enough hands. Chuck Yong says, yeah, asking why it matters. Then tells him to wait as we see Moonhook rolling up his sleeve, saying that now he can't wait to see how that kid will use this toy. It jumps back to Wei as Sanong is saying that she's finished the preparations he asked for, but confirms that it's just going to be the two of them going. He tells her that Gon will be coming as well, but he had something to take care of before departing. He finally makes his appearance, jumping over the wall, asking if it's necessary to leave at such a weird hour. Wei tells him that this is the best time gone, then informs him that he has eliminated Moi Young budget Hyung Sam. Wei says good work, but Sanong yells, asking why he would do such a thing. Wu says that Muyang was smuggling intel out of the 9 branches dragon family to the Namgung clan, and even the temple Sanong sweats nervously, saying that she sees that she can't believe how sloppy the mind shadow troop of the Namgung clan is, on top of finding Muyang Wu uncovered something. Even she wasn't aware of, and she's been getting played in the palm of his hand this entire time. God asks if it's really just going to be the 3 of them, while Wu Ai holds up a Groy-looking face mask, telling him yes, and to wear this for now. God asks if he's sure about this. Wu says of course, and they already know what they both look like, telling him to put it on as they should get going. Gan Si saying, "This is troublesome on the way there." Gan mentions how the fog is getting really thick. Wu Ai says that means they're getting to the start of their territory, then Gan immediately asks if he senses that as well. Wu Ai says, "Yep." Even though they're hiding their presence in the ghost fog, he can see them clearly thanks to his Reaper sight. There are countless Jangas, and they've likely increased security due to their farms being attacked. And it wasn't just a rumor that the White Bone achieved a higher stage. His formation sorcery is also more advanced. W then notices something else, saying that the flow of this mystic power is familiar, telling 15 to come out. 15 says, reporting for duty. Then Y asks if White Bone took his sorcery manual. 15 says that he doesn't know the specifics, but he heard the 12 dark ghosts found an incredible item while cleaning up the wreckage of the Junior Lord's quarters. All the other ghost boys start yelling, calling him foolish, asking how dare he steal from the Junior Lord. But 15 says that it wasn't even him. Wee says he thought it would all be blown to dust by the explosion, but some of his pieces of the Ghost King Jimir survived. Using spells against someone who knows the properties of your sorcery is akin to using a lock against someone who has a copy of the key. He'll have to be careful of using spells until he adjusts his Ghost King grimoire. The carriage finally comes to a stop as the carriage dude says they've arrived. They both help Song out. I just now realized they are dressed up in blue to symbolize the Numgung clan. Or I'm cooked the door. Then opens as the little Jung she welcomes her, asking what she's doing. Here Sanong says she brought the bastard child's items as the Master Templar requested. The little Junie says that recent developments have put them on high alert. Because of that, she'll transport the boxes, telling them to keep them here. Gon is surprised and asks Wee if they're going to have to brute force their way through. Woni tells him to have some patience as Sanong clutches up, saying that she doesn't know what the items have, as they might have spells cast on them, and that mystic powers become tainted when they're handled by the dead. She's asking her if she'll be fine if it gets tainted by her hands. The little young Shay realizes she's right and tells them to go ahead and follow her in what AW from Sanong. She then tells Whitebone that Sanong has brought the item she requested. He yells, saying to let her in, all excited, and as the doors open, Song looks nervous and greets Whitebone. Whitebone says it's about damn time, asking her if she's brought his things. She says yes, and she's unable to discern what items have been enchanted, so she just grabbed everything in his room while he was gone. Whitebone laughs, saying good work, and this is more surefire than her making a bad guess. San Young then nods to Wu and gone to walk with the boxes, and they do exactly that. Whitebone says he can feel the mystic powers without even opening the chest, and that she's done very well and that he's going to use these right away to track him. As soon as he opens the chest, he's surprised by what's inside, saying, "This is odd," as he sees a whole chest of bombs. He asks what the meaning of this is, as both Wu and Gon grab onto Sanong, darting out of the temple while Whitebone is still confused. Bro is slow in the head. He then hears the fire burning on the fuse and has an "oh" moment. He realizes this is bad. But his boomer reflexes weren't enough as the explosion roars throughout the temple, even making its way to the front gate, exploding everything inside, sending it flying everywhere. It even makes its way to the forest, as we see Wu and the rest taking cover. Gon says that should have nullified the formation while taking off his mask. Wu does the same, saying mostly that the spell is not fully gone. Yet God asks if he's saying that the white bone lived through that explosion. W reminds him that he's a Jungi. He saw him unleash his mystic power before it exploded. He might have lost an arm or a leg, but he's definitely still alive. Not to mention there's also a squad. As we see them flying in under the moon, they land in front, and the little one takes the lead of the advanced Jangi squad, getting angry, asking how dare they do this in their holy grounds. Wu says she sure is angry, even though all they did was blow up a house. Gon reminds him that he would also be pissed if this happened to him. One of the advanced Jangai tells the little one that he recognizes Gon, as he's considered the second strongest martial artist in the 9 Dragons branch family, and the one next to him is the bastard son of the family. They realize that since they are both here, it means that their plans were uncovered by the Tang clan. God asks if Wu is sure he's going to be okay by himself. Wu says he should worry about his own fight instead. The Jungi says they don't know how much of the plan has gone astray, but they have to capture them alive. But before they even get to start, the one who gave them the order turns into mist, surprising the little one by how fast it was. She turns nervous as we see it laying on the floor, and God asks, how dare a monster pretend to be human? The little one says that he might not have been fully on guard, but to take down one of their warriors in one blow means he is a martial master at the supreme peak stage. Yui says that he sure is reliable, telling him that he'll be back later while the other advanced Jongi wonder where he's going. The little one reminds them that he's no threaten to ignore him, as right now they need to focus on putting their entire effort into defeating Gon. Gon laughs, asking if they really think they stand a chance as Wei makes his way to Whitebone crawling out of the wreckage. He asks, how dare that stupid betray him, and that he's having a hard time healing due to the explosion messing with his formation. He needs to quickly decide if he should reconstruct it before the Tang clan arrives, or if he should dispose of the evidence and run. Wei says he came all the way here, personally. Yet he's thinking of running, asking him if he thinks he's being a bad host, while laughing. Whitebone says that he must be the bastard of the Branch family, and that this was all the plan of his backer. Wu tells him it's been a while, saying they haven't met in private since he learned sorcery from him. Whitebone asks what kind of nonsense he's yapping about. Wu continues, asking if he forgot, saying though they were from different sects, they were a master and disciple for a month. Whitebone starts to really think about it, then recognizes his manner of speech, saying that's impossible. Wu says he can't believe he hasn't recognized him, even after stealing his sorcery, and that he's hurt his feelings while releasing his ghost. King Aura Whitebone immediately recognizes him as the junior heavenly demon and starts to freak out, now that he understands that if he doesn't fight, he will die. He starts to unleash all of his aura, creating a beam straight up into the sky. Wu laughs, saying he really has reached a higher stage and things would have been bad had he not blown up his formation Whitebone, then slams his hand onto the ground as a massive explosion follows time to scrap, as Wu wonders what's going on since it doesn't feel like is activating a spell. He has to be up to something. He then uses his Reaper sight, saying that he'll still be able to see through all of it, but then he's confused. As Whitebone is nowhere to be found, he asks where he went, saying that stealth is not a specialty of his, and he doesn't sense any mystic power. So it's not an illusion. The Ghost Boys tell him that he's up in the air, and Wu is still seriously confused. He wonders if he's planning some kind of aerial attack, while the rest say that they think he's just running away, never mind the fight. Wu says he doesn't know if he should make fun of him for being a coward or compliment him for being fast and decisive, but of all the directions he could have chosen, he picked the wrong way, so he sure is unlucky while Whitebone is flying away. He says he can't believe it's the junior heavenly demon asking how he is still alive, but that's not what's most important. He's revealed himself, indicating he has a surefire way of defeating him, because that's the kind of person he is. He needs to make sure to retreat. He then senses some energy down on the ground, and we see it's none other than Q Jin preparing some energy from the Guangchang sect. She unleashes an attack in a cross pattern as it soars to the air up to Whitebone. He realizes this is no good, as he has no way to dodge the attack as he gets hit directly by the attack. Even his bird gets destroyed. Wei says that's what he gets for ignoring him and leaving, and then greets Qi Jin. She asks what he's doing here, and he says he was exterminating demon cultist with Sanong. She's surprised, and he says that Zhang Gevoin's he just is knocked down as a heavenly demon cultist, and he's here to defeat him. She says that she only came here because she heard that her mother was scheming with a sorcerer that resided in this mountain, but for it to have been a cultist, that's unbelievable. We says that he gets her confusion, but he needs to focus on the geyser before he tries to run again, and he tells her that he'll deal with the cultist himself, asking if she can go help Gon as he is fighting multiple opponents alone while protecting Song. She barks at him, asking if he really came with just the three of them, and says that's because it was a sneak attack. We says that even though she fought with her mother, she still cares about her deeply, which is a good sign. Q Jin says that since things are urgent, so she'll ask questions later, telling him to run away if things get dangerous. She then nods, telling him she'll be back as she starts running towards Gon. Wei laughs, saying now, then he thinks he's got enough of a break while he chatted with his sister, telling him to get up already. He knows that a demon fate Jongi of the Blackbone Ghost Valley can easily recover from this, and he better not be scheming in hopes that he lowers his guard. Whitebone then comes out of the ground, annoyed that he saw through him, and grits his teeth as he Piccolo himself a whole new arm. He says he hasn't changed that mocking tone of his, but he was definitely dead asking how he's alive. Wu tells him that it's hard to believe as immortality and reincarnation are the eternal wish of all sorcerers. But this is more than enough proof as he starts to equip his battle robe. Whitebone realizes he's not bluffing and dreams saying he sure has transcended death, and he can't believe to see that somebody has actually done it. Now it's time to scrap. Wu tells him that he has a lot of questions for him, and not to run away like a coward as they should keep this quick Whitebone. Prepares an attack saying that he sees he's still a pro at running his mouth, and then he's going to rip it off of him for being so disrespectful. Whitebone's monsters then make their way out of the forest as we see an army of beast janks as leaping towards Wu raises his hand up while using the Wild Wind dance specifically. The Wild Wind frenzy, he dashes through all of the beast Janus ripping them apart one by one, making his way directly to Whitebone. Whitebone surprised that he's using martial arts as he gets hit straight in the face, sending him flying as he even lost some of his teeth. Whitebone says that he's fast, but the reports always mention that the bastard child has yet to reach the peak stage, so this power of his makes no sense. He wonders how he leveled up so quickly in a short time period, as Wu begins to unleash a flurry of blows. Whitebone says that it's crazy that the bastard is able to use martial arts, saying that even Wu wasn't able to. In his past life, he roars, making Wu backstep to create distance, and when Wu lands on his feet, he asks if he doesn't have any tricks up his sleeve, saying that if this is all he's got, then he's pretty disappointed once more. Whitebone signals to send his troops forward, telling him to shut up. Wu asks if he's really using the same move, saying that while he may be stupid, he's not this stupid Whitebone. Then clenches his fist, yelling "explode" as all of the beast jets start to swell up like balloons. Wu says corpse explosion was way too obvious of a move, and as the explosion hits immediately after, Whitebone sprints off saying he can't believe he had to waste his precious Giasis like that, but that should have bought him some time. Of course it didn't. Wu's already beside him, asking him where he thinks he's going, punching his face one more time, sending him flying away, crashing into the ground. Whitebone is now struggling to even breathe a little bit, and he looks up saying that it's all because his formation was destroyed and he needs a lot of time to cast large spells. But he's not giving him any time to begin with. Wu asks if this is really the best he can do despite stealing his spellbook. Whitebone says that it's because he blew up his mystic formation that he's unable to do anything. Wu says he did do that, but he's still absolutely useless and is only capable of running away. It seems he was expecting more after hearing he had reached a higher stage calling him pathetic Whitebone. Starts to get hella pissed as he starts to concentrate the aura on his hand to go in for an attack. He dashes off the ground, leaping forward towards Wu, saying he won't let him have his way. Wu says, even after all the taunting, this might be the best he can do, and that he's seen enough now, as he grabs onto Whitebone's hands. Whitebone still tries to fight through it to stop Wu, but is no match, as he gets kicked straight in the stomach, getting launched, flying Whitebone, then looks up, wondering if this is how it's going to end. And Wungu says he's indeed a demon. Fate Jangi as he's so damn sturdy. Whitebone screams, saying he gives up and he'll tell him everything. So just to spare him. Wu runs over, kicking him in the head, asking if he has dementia, saying he has the magic imprisonment chains, so he shouldn't even bother keeping him alive. While holding his foot on his head, he rears his fist back, saying that they'll meet again when he's a ghost. While Whitebone now realizes that he's truly going to die, he begins to sweat, nervous lie, and screams, saying he refuses to go out like this. As an aura emanates from his mouth, Wu is surprised, asking what this is. Wu accepts it, wondering what kind of attack it'll be, only to now be on a beach, saying that he can't believe he was hiding a trick like this, and he can't believe he used Soul and Charmant. He even broke through the Rob's mental protection to cast it. The little ghosts say that this is high-level sorcery that's on another level from the original ones of the Blackbone Ghost Valley. Wu says they're right. It's far too high class for the geyser, which proves that he has connections to the society. Whitebone then calls out to Wu, saying that he is now locked inside of his soul prison. Wu looks up into the sky as Whitebone is a giant tsunami coming straight toward him, telling him that this spell is something he cast by offering his life, and it should be impossible for him to nullify, and he can't believe he forced him to go to such extremes. Wu asked why he's mad at him, saying it's his fault for not having a backup for his formation and size. Whitebone tells him to shut up, as Wu immediately taunts him, saying that he has some serious anger issues. The Ghost Boys tell him to stop taunting him. Toonami crashes into Wu. Whitebone tells him that he shall take away everything that is his. Wu begins to descend deep into the ocean. 15 says that he didn't know White Bone possessed such a spell. We says that the water is everywhere now, and a spell of creating such a lifelike artificial space won't have an easy escape gate, and he guesses it's come down to whether he can analyze the spell before he drowns. Everything looks the same all around him, but he can see the mystic power flowing through the currents, which gives him a read on the spell structure. If he considers the giant wave from earlier as the restricting gate, then this current is the danger gate. By following the danger gate, he can arrive at the central gate where the entire spell can be observed. He can't see the death gate or the life gate, which is the escape gate. You need a PhD for the ship. White Bone used his life to cast this spell, and his words earlier show how strongly he is attached to life, which means that rather than killing him, this spell is meant to rob his body. He continues to Sherlock Holmes it, saying it means the escape gate is none other than death. As Wee covers his hand in aura and stabs himself directly through the chest, the ghosts wonder why he's committing suicide. W tells them not to make a fuss, as a death other than drowning is the true secret to the gate, asking White Bone if he's right. Y grabs onto his heart, which White Bone is now taking out of, as the ghosts still ask him if he's gone crazy. Wu rips his own beating heart directly out of his chest. Even White Bone asks him if he is mentally ill. What a raw scene back to Gon's side as a giant attack is seen on the mountain. He's swirling his whip around, showing off that he is truly a master of the wild wind. Every strike of his whip is hitting one of the advanced Jangus, not allowing them to get close. One of them retreats, telling the little one that they won't last much longer by themselves. She says she knows that, but she needs an opening to take advantage of, asking how he's so strong when he's just a human. Gon taunts them, saying they acted like they were strong, yet they're all just side characters. As this is the time the attack flies directly towards the little one, she puts her arms up, blocking it, which she deflects away, saying that she's different from those other guys. He asks if that's the case, then how she feels about this one, as he uses one of his techniques called the graceful blossoming, knocking all of the advanced Jangus away except for her as they land behind her in the woods. She says that even she, a spirit warrior, barely managed to block it, and the normal warriors won't last much longer at this rate. They're going to be wiped out. She has to sacrifice the three of them to take his life. She calls out to the other Jungi, telling them to offer their lives now. They are completely down for it, as they start all seizing up at the mouth. God asks what's going on, saying their vibes are weird as they leap off the ground directly at him. He asks if they think that jumping at him is all it will take, and he this time cuts one of them in half as the other two use that chance to get close. He asks what's going on, saying that he'd cut off their arms and legs as they get close. He now realizes this is bad, as they are holding on to him. He looks up, unable to move, while the little one gets right into his face. He says that she must have used the other Jez to obscure his line of sight. No matter how he dodges, he'll have to give up an arm at the very least. As the attack flies in, we see something absolutely delete the little one's arm, as it's none other than Kyujin's sword. Gon recognizes it, and so does the little one as anti-demon energy. She wonders if it's Kyujin, who of course we see it is, and she asks Uncle Gon if he's okay. While the little one is still taking in the situation, Gon frees himself, saying that she just saved his life. He then swings his whip forward, cutting the little one in half, and her final words are calling out to White Bone as she hits the floor. John asks if this is all of them, and he says yes. As he finished off the rest of them earlier, he asks what she's doing here, and she nervously changes the conversation, saying that she should go help Gon Sais, saying that he told him to wait at the temple when he's done, as he wants to defeat the boss alone. This surprises Kyujin as they both look off into the forest. Gan says he looked confident, so he should be fine. Back to White. Bone is asking how many lives he has if he's so nonchalant about ripping out his own heart. White says that was the escape gate, and he bet he could only have taken over his body if he lost consciousness by drowning White Bone. Says even if that conclusion was logical, to take his own life is absurd, and calls him a suicidal freak. As Wee crushes his own heart in his hands, a white light appears, which begins to blind him as he opens his eyes. He says the space changed in a short time, and it turns out that was just the first stage, as he is now in the jungle. White Bone says that this place is crawling with all sorts of poisonous creatures, and he can't wait to see him squirm in agony after being consumed by their poison. Wu says first water and now this, asking if this is the best he can do. He then grabs onto something from the tree, which is none other than a little lizard frog thing, who makes a very awkward his sound. White says that he can't believe dude is role-playing. White Bone yells, saying that he can't believe this. Changing the scenery once more, as W is now floating high up in the sky, he begins to fall. POV, you are playing Skyblock. He then looks around, saying that he knows exactly what Whitebone is up to now as he unleashes an attack towards the sky itself, as a giant eyeball appears looking at the attack, wondering how he already knew, and this continues on and on and on, until they're finally back to the beach. Scenery. Y asks if he really went through all that struggle just to get here and he's out of ideas. Whitebone asks what kind of trickery he's using to find the escape gates. Wee says it's simple only because he's a genius. The technique of capturing a soul within a fake world he is using is specifically called the Mirage. Whitebone asks how he figured out the name so fast, and he says that he was too confident in his spell, and he talked too much. Thanks to that, he was able to fully analyze it. The name of a spell is more than a moniker, unlike martial artists who try to garner fame for their techniques by shouting them out. Sorcerers try their best to hide the names of the spells because spells are more effective the less is known about them. The spell's name is condensed as a description of the spell's nature and structure as Wui punches the ground. The entire area starts to break and fragment as if it was made of glass. He says a spell that's had its nature and structure. Reed can no longer act as a prison as he's starting to free himself. Whitebone says there's no way this is a spell. He traded his life for as we see his eyes appearing on all these broken fragments. He screams out Wee's name. Wee appears back in reality saying that took long enough, and thanks to Whitebone he's learned an interesting spell. Whitebone. Spirit starts to leave his body, and he asks how he could just die like this without even putting up a real fight. Wee says that surely it feels great to meet like this. After death, Whitebone starts to break down, asking him how he reincarnated, and if he tells him the method, he'll share all the information he has with him. Wu grabs onto his face, saying that he misunderstands something, and it must be because he showed him kindness, yet he's trying to bargain now. As he slams his head into the ground, he says that he's the one asking questions, and he only needs answers, asking if he understands. Whitebone says, yes, sir. W says that 6 years ago when he died on the sky-shattering peak, he wants to know what happened to the Chanshan Mountains, to tell him every single thing, and not to leave out any details. He explains that 6 years ago, the bloody battle of the sky-shattering peak after Wei took himself and many elders and executives to the netherworld, the rebellion occurred in the cults, and it occurred when 5 of the 9 great demon sects formed an alliance. They destroyed the Sun-Moon Black Demon Sect, which protected the Lord's Hall. After that, they even invaded the grounds of the demon worshipping Divine Fire SE to obtain his master's body. This could secure his master's body after eliminating him. Only the demon worshipping Divine Fire sect would fight back. The other sect would have no choice but to follow, and the alliance would be able to maintain their rule. But a civil war occurred as the rumor said they failed to secure the body. Wu then says he wants to know immediately what happened to his master. As he starts to use his Reaper sight, Whitebone starts to freak out, asking if those are the eyes a human can possess, but remembers that he has that unbelievable ability to rule over for the dead while being alive. That is why he has the moniker of Ghost King after becoming a ghost. He can feel such an irresistible fear from Wui. If he can't oppose him, he needs to avoid being destroyed. He then goes to tell him about the cult leader, but they both sense something ominous. Instantly, Wui asks what that is as something is approaching them. A red mist begins to envelop Ghostbone as he is confused. He then recognizes it as the little ghost tells Wee this is bad. Wee leaps away from it, while Whitebone sticks his hand out, begging him, saying that he told him everything he knows, asking to be saved as the red mist eats him as if it was a fly trap. Whitebone screams, then falls silent. Wu asks if his soul was just consumed, sweating nervously. So, do all the ghost boys as they wonder what the hell this is. Dumpling says that he needs to move away from that, and even the rest agree that the thing is dangerous. He says it's moving, so he has to respond, but it disappears straight into the ground, as if it was a shadow leaving behind only a tiny puddle behind. They're slightly confused, asking if it really just left, and wondering if maybe its sole objective was to consume Whitebone. Soul 15 says that he heard of this from Whitebone before, and that maybe Raga. Wu asks what Raga is. 15 says it's not a magical monster or a creature, but it's closer to a phenomenon. It's an incomprehensible oddity. It grants great strength to the contracted sorcerer, but if they cannot wield the power properly, their soul will be swallowed whole. Y says that must mean that Raga contract took precedence over the power of his Ghost King, and they say that must be the case. Y says taking a ghosty bounds with his authority as the Ghost King is absurd, There was still a large amount of information he needed to hear from him, but the informant he finally obtained was taken without him being able to do anything. Wu says that actually might not be the case. As fragments of Whitebone's thoughts are still here, as he sticks his hand out, he says he needs to obtain all the information he has. Even if it's just a little bit, Wu starts combing through the fragments' memories, saying that it must be something related to the society. And what he just found is the moment he contracted with Raga, we see him bowing his head at the Lord Hall of the cults, as all of the elders of the Blackbone Ghost Valley are kneeling. Woni starts to feel an incredible pressure, saying that he can't believe he's able to feel it through a memory, and that this must be one of the divergence from the society. The face is too obscured for him to clearly make out, and he says in the end it's still just the memories, and he cannot confirm things that Whitebone himself never checked. But there is one thing he remembers, and that's that his eyes have a reverse yin-yang inside of them. This is all he can gather from the remaining thoughts as the fragment starts to break apart. He says that he obtained a useful characteristic to identify his enemy, at least even more so when these enemies hold special powers that can exceed that of his Ghost King. He says that since there's nothing else to look at, he should start cleaning up the mess, but as he looks down at his hand, it has a red aura, stopping him from lifting it up. It then starts to crawl up him, and he says that these are the cracks that Raga appeared from, and that this is dangerous, since these are the memories consumed by Raga. He was detected in turn by Raga Master. At this rate, he will be able to figure out his identity. No, even worse, he could die and he needs to get out of here. No matter what we see, blood come out of his mouth as he rips his hand away, distancing himself from the hole. All the ghost boys immediately surround him, asking if he's okay, saying it hasn't even been that long. Yet he's covered in a cold sweat. He says he's fine and ought not to make a fuss. But he almost just got dealt a serious blow. But it was not fruitless, as he got great information, they say, as expected, of the Junior Lord. And Wai says even if he tries to hide the information from him, he'll uncover everything that the society has to offer in regards to his master. The video ends here. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to receive updates on my next videos quickly and not miss any new content.